Nobody that I know of in my field uses the so-called scientific method. In our field, it's by the seat of your pants. It's leaps of logic. It's guesswork.
You don't see the curvature of the earth. That stuff is black.
GLOBEBUSTERS taking over. Bye bye Moonman and Rover. Now so mediocre. Sorry, but your ball is dead. But your ball is GLOBEBUSTERs taking over. Gotta ride this roller coaster, but the truth is getting closer. Sorry, but your ball is dead. But your ball is. Get the shovel for the space hubble, piecing up the puzzle. Need to bust your bubble. Evil gonna crumble, yeah. Sit down, be humble. Got the ball, you better fumble. You get mad 'cause I just fighting about your uncle.
And then they call me the liar. I mean, it's absolutely unbelievable the pathetic techniques that they have to use to prove their heliocentric model.
Vibes at the president, Jeran got the evidence. Arrow slaying Jesuits and Zack is evident. That the earth electric and it's resonant. Your residence is heaven sent. I hope to settle in like some sediment. If we so wrong, why they lying to discredit it? That's not too intelligent. That's a guy, not an in court, but we ain't really in the settlement. It's time to awaken from the pseudoscience sedatives.
GLOBEBUSTERs taking over. Bye bye Moonman and Rover. Now so mediocre. Sorry, but your ball is dead. But your ball is GLOBEBUSTERs taking over. Gotta ride this roller coaster, but the truth is getting closer. Sorry, but your ball is dead. But your ball is.
Inner World Productions.
And welcome everybody to GLOBEBUSTERS. We are on to season 11, episode number 3. Wow, it's Mirage. I'm your host, Jeran from Jeranism. We've got the guys with me. Zack, good times for all. Zack Rizabala, ¿cómo estás? I'm getting confused. Who speaks that language?
Muy bien. ¿Y tú?
Muy bien, muy bien. Y also with us, Austin witsitgetsit. You know him well. Austin, welcome to the show.
What's going on, my brothers?
Another
What's up,
day
Austin?
in paradise, as they say. I am making sure we got everything set up. I do believe so. Yes, good. All right, welcome to the show. We've got a lot of things to cover. We can start with some stuff coming up this week, which you may have know already is happening. Austin, I guess you could start us out telling us what is going on Tuesday and what you want from us before then.
Yeah, so I will be on Infowars. Infowars at 9 a.m. Central, so 10 Eastern. A quote-unquote debate, but I think it's not moderated. It's supposed to be more of an interview, conversational vibe with Harrison Smith, who has a slot weekdays in the morning on Infowars.
Nice.
So yeah, it should be cool. And if anyone doesn't know how that happened, Infowars tweeted out and said, who would you guys like to see Harrison Smith debate on Infowars next? And they said tag them in the reply, so I quoted it and tweeted it out and said, it's ratio the post. And then 99% of it was me tagged. And so they really didn't have a choice either. They had to run away, or address it. Because then I commented and said, bring me on to discuss the one subject that apparently is even off limits for Infowars, flat Earth. So here we are. Couple days. It should be exciting.
I saw a video earlier. They were talking about they've never gotten so much warning from people. If you have Austin on, you gotta ask him this, and you gotta answer this way, and you gotta do, or he's just gonna make you look stupid. I guess people have been calling this guy Globers, most likely, left and right, telling him, not to debate you. And if you do, that you have to do it a certain way, or else Austin's going to own you right out.
Yeah, but isn't that awesome? It's all of a sudden this whole narrative that we're really stupid and get everything wrong, and we're so easily disproven and debated. I mean, that obviously went out the window, huh? Because if that was the case, you wouldn't have to do that. I don't think
so. No, yeah, I heard through the rumor mill that people are calling and actually saying, hey, do you need help? Can we give you some help? Can we offer rebuttals? Can we help you? Because if you just go in there blindfolded and looking dumb, you're going to make him look really smart. You don't want to do that.
Yeah, of
Yeah,
course.
I think
And then
they're
everyone's like,
terrified.
it's a psyop. Oh, we'll flatter the psyop.
Yeah.
They're terrified that an audience at that size that's somewhat already open-minded. It's not like you're going to mainstream news where a bunch of 65-year-old people that are just sitting around doing nothing are watching The View or something like that. No, it's not like that. This is an actual people who are already knowing that they're being lied to. So yeah, this is a great platform, I think, for you to go on.
Well,
to
it's pretty
often.
crazy. Like I told, I've told lots of people. I'm on Discord. I get on Discord decently often, and I tell a lot of people. I was like, so 2024 is the year that it's going to start to pop off. It'll really boil over into 2025. And I told Kai same thing. I said that last year I was telling her that next year is kind of when stuff will pop off, because I think the creator is going to do it. I think, I have a whole theory, but I think that cosmology is like very crucial component to a lot of the future deception and stuff. And it's pretty crazy how it's already kind of doing that, right? Like I just did Tripoli's show, and that'll air. I think it's going to air this coming week as well, right? So you'll have Infowars, Tripoli, and then other people are already starting to reach out to me just by word of mouth that I was on Tripoli. They haven't even seen it. And of course, Infowars as well. So should be a pretty interesting year, I think. I think it's going to get to where, how like everyone's calling out like that foreign secular nation state that runs our country now. It's like everyone calls them out. It's going to be like that, right? Where it's going to be like, dude, I don't even know if you guys are making this lame. But so yeah, I think this is kind of that moment.
Nice, dude. Are you going to be in studio for that?
No, I wish. So like what I'm hoping to do is keep the conversation pretty cordial and respectful, and everyone knows that it's an hour, maybe 90 minutes. Like there's no way you can cover everything. Right. And I'm hoping that the conversation ends in such a way that it's like, wow, we clearly need to continue this.
Yeah. And
then I'm going to I want to push for being in person. If there's like a part 2, that's kind of the goal. Because in person it's totally different, especially if let me sit across AJ. We got to have a space intervention.
Let's tell you about his grandfather. His grandfather talked to Buzz, and he's talked to Buzz, and Buzz isn't a liar.
I'll be like, yeah, Buzz isn't a liar. He told us it didn't happen.
Right. We didn't go, and that's the way it was. Yep.
And even if, let's give them all the benefit of the doubt, do you think that they couldn't have tricked Buzz to do that? I mean, this is when the CIA admittedly was testing out MK Ultra on people,
right,
and doing this openly. I mean, they've made movies about this. The Manchurian Candidate. They had a bunch of guys out in the desert somewhere, all hooked up with their brains on all sorts of drugs, showing them visuals, making them think that they actually did something when they didn't actually do it. So, I mean, maybe Buzz isn't lying. Maybe Buzz is just a useful idiot that went for a ride.
That's what he says, right?
Clue where he went.
We're just passengers.
We're just passengers. Ask them. Yeah. Right. I don't know.
Yeah, and then obviously they said, what's the most dangerous thing that happened? He said, it could have been dangerous, but it didn't happen.
Oh, Buzz.
Yeah. I think it's all pretty crazy because lots of people are hitting me up as well,
Right.
And I guess this idea is that he has something that no one's brought up before that will definitively shut it down once and for all.
Oh, the hammer. He's got the hammer.
Yeah.
How many times have we heard about the hammer?
Bro, that's what I'm saying. I'm like, bro, you know how many times I've heard that, bro? And then someone talks about neutrinos from below my feet or something. Like, you know what I'm saying? That was their home run that one time. Like, oh, neutrinos from the sun below my feet.
Oh, yeah.
And
I'm convinced.
You find out that's just ridiculous. Not true at all. Computer network that just makes things up. And yeah, I don't know. We'll see how it goes. I will say I have some things that I haven't talked about too much that I do plan on. So it's ironic. I think I actually do have that.
You got the hammer. All right.
I actually have a hammer. Yeah. So I'm gonna see what happens.
Yeah, no, I think it's exciting. I told people last night, I think that we're further along than we've been ever. So, I mean, that's, even though people might say, oh, it was more popular at some point, or it was maybe more in the news at some point. I think as a unit, we're further than we have been ever right now.
Oh yeah, it's almost becoming common knowledge that it's not a shock to people that there are flat earthers alive now.
Now the shock should start coming that they faked evidence, that they won't talk about it, which makes no sense. You got Neil deGrasse and those guys saying, well, you don't want to give it any attention, you don't want to pretend like there's a debate. Well, the way you do that is you debunk it, right? And then it goes away. But when you're saying you don't want to give it any airtime, you don't want people to think that there's a conversation, you're basically admitting we don't want to have that conversation.
Well, then that's why that doesn't work with this whole Infowars narrative that it's a psyop.
Right.
But they have a good response to why they faked it, right? So it's like, well, people start looking into it. They're like, what? The last real pictures from the Apollo missions. The Apollo missions are very sketchy. And then you go looking for proof and you find Nat Geo faking, like intentionally being deceptive to deceive the audience into believing the Earth's a globe, faking evidence multiple times behind the curve, which, by the way, we cleared that up on Tripoli as well. So that maybe will get a little bit of airtime, but you see that and you're like, what's going on, right? Like, why are they lying? And they'll say, well, because it's a psyop. They want to breathe life into flat Earth. So they intentionally made it obvious that they're faking this evidence for the globe. And I'm still making the best I could say, right? Because they wanted to breathe life into flat Earth. But the reason that doesn't work is because stuff like what they say normally, which is like, we shouldn't even give it any attention. No, don't debate them. Don't allow it to be on a major platform. Censor it. Strawman the actual position. If that wasn't the case, why would they so heavily censor it and then strawman it, right? So it's going to be interesting because I think that's like the number one take from their audience that's against flat Earth, right? Is that it's a psyop to discredit the other conspiracies. So.
Big shout out to Liz, the Iron Maiden, sending in the €4.99 with a big thumbs up from a kitty cat. Thank you, Liz.
Thank you, Liz.
You see what I'm saying, though, Jeran? How they kind of have like a
totally,
an angle on them faking it, but like I don't know. I mean, another thing is apparently on the back of Alex Jones' book, there's a quote from Tucker Carlson from back in the day, and it says something like, "Well, Alex Jones is so heavily censored that he must be onto something, right?" But they don't do that with flat Earth.
It's just so ridiculous.
But they literally do that with flat Earth. So
they do more than that. I mean, they absolutely block us from being searched for, from being up next. I mean, it's actual censorship.
Exactly. And then they pump out all kinds of strawmans in the mainstream and debunk videos. So like if we're going to apply the same, keep the same energy you just had, which is, oh, he must be onto something. Right. Well, then why would you not apply that same logic to flat Earth? This is what we always see is when it comes to the globe Earth, like they can make an argument. And then when you point out, oh, wait a minute, that argument actually helps us, all of a sudden it's not a valid argument anymore.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So funny. But.
Yeah, you can't use that one now. Oh, what? I thought that we were just using it. No,
like Occam's razor.
Oh yeah, but not when it comes to no, not in this case. We don't. The more complex, the more true.
Yeah, like they'll invoke Occam's razor for like a globe argument, like about the heliocentric orbits are less complicated,
right? Which
they're not. But like, so it's Occam's razor. It's like, okay, first of all, that's not true. But wait, so here, what about Occam's razor with all of this? All of a sudden, Occam's razor is not a valid point at all. Shouldn't even like. That's how you know. It's not a psyop. Is in order to defend the official narrative, you have to use tactics. You have to be dishonest.
Yeah, and if it was any kind of a psyop, first of all, you don't play the psyop that it destroys your entire society. I mean, it would absolutely crash everything. It would crash schools, it would crash colleges, it would crash science, it would crash, you name it. I mean, everything is called into question then. History, everything falls apart if the globe is not true. So it's the thing they have to protect more than anything. It's the thing that they, I don't know if it was really Nina, that girl Nina started talking about it. I've heard Dave talk about it, but it really is to live in their fake world. You have to basically be involved in all the lies, the straw man, you name it, or the fictional character that you're part of the corporation, all that stuff ties together, and it has to take place on the fake globe. That's if they let us know that we're not there, all of a sudden everything else opens up to, oh my goodness, we're not under control. We don't have government. I think the whole thing falls apart. And that's what they can't have that. That's what they're trying to do what they can to protect, because if you don't live on that fake globe, the world's your oyster, as they say.
Yeah, like if it's a psyop that's curated by the CIA, then the psyop they created would be what everyone is told, right?
Right.
But that's
Right,
not
yeah.
what's happening. Like our actual position is not what's told, right? When the default
it's
empirical
hidden.
position
It's
is a
hidden now.
stationary topographical plane based on, the refutation of empirical measurements based on the falsification of the radius value due to the lack of convexity of curvature, the empirical measurements demonstrating and establishing that the Earth is stationary and it is a stationary lab frame. Except like these things are not, no. It's a picture of a disk with water falling off of it around spherical planets
Right.
moving up in the sky. Like to this day, that's not even just a 2015 thing. Like, that's still what people show around. Like we can fall off of the edge, that we deny that planets exist. We think that everything in the sky is a hologram. We don't think rockets can even be shot in the sky. Like all of these blatant strawmans that should be pretty telling, right? Like it should be telling that like if it was a psyop, obviously what we actually think would be what's said. That's how the CIA works. They run the media, right? Operation Mockingbird.
Right.
So it's just coping. It's just a narrative of coping, right? Because they're like, damn, these flat earthers are right about everything except for flat Earth. So they have to come up with some narrative to say that we fell for the psyop to discredit the rest of the conspiracies.
I think if I make a video like this, they'll change it, but I'll go ahead and say it anyway. So if you notice here, I looked up Sky Free, spelled exactly correctly, and we don't see the channel Sky Free. First, it comes up Free Sky. Where's this channel? Its name is Sky Free, spelled exactly the same, especially the same punctuation. But somebody came last night and told me, oh, you have to do it with quotation marks. So they say if we do quotation marks, Sky Free, we get it. So that might be something that gets around some of the censorship. Now, again, as soon as I say that and it's public, now they'll go in and change that because they don't want you to be able to find flat Earth channels, right? Even though they get the name exactly right. How about this? If I go Sky Free and then I organize by filters, channels. So you think it would come up, or is it channel? You think it would come up, oh, it does this. Oh, it's because I got the quotes. If you take these quotes out and search Sky Free, damn it, filters and channel, you're going to get all these other channels named Sky Free with less subs. Why do those ones come up? Sky Free. They have less subs. They have less. I mean, so that's what it's like to be a flat earther where, and again, last night I was pointing this out, but I didn't know Sky Free music.
So you put quotation marks around it?
Yeah,
and
so
it worked?
Yeah, that came up first when I did that. So if you go Sky
Wow.
Free with quotation marks, then it will work. So, and that's how you're supposed to do when you have like a 2-word thing when you're searching, I guess. But it's still, if you're on YouTube and you search an exact spelling of the exact channel name, then it should come up. It shouldn't be like,
Yeah.
we don't know what you're talking about. You want,
Well, that isn't even. I mean, the quotation marks isn't some like magic trick. Like
No.
if you type in witsitgetsit geocentrism with the quotation marks, you're still not going to find my stream literally titled geocentrism. Like
no,
you're not going to find it.
no, I'm talking about like a channel name though. Let's think of a 2-word channel name that we could try.
Well,
with.
I think once I pointed out that I was so censored, like when you then all of a sudden when you typed in witsitgetsit, my channel does pop up. But I don't know. I also heard that what happens is if you're in a certain account that it changes, meaning, you know what I'm saying? Like if you've already looked up my channel, so obviously I am the owner of this channel.
Correct, right.
So
Right. So if I'm searching under my account, it's going to find things I've looked at before, but not necessarily if it's somebody who's never seen me. You're saying that the search results would be different.
yeah, but I think that when you type in witsitgetsit, the channel does pop up now.
Does
and it
that
was-
change if you go to? So I'm in the incognito window here. I'm just gonna see what changes
I
now.
think so. I think so. And what's crazy is it didn't used to do that, but then I screen recorded it and posted it, and then within minutes, bro, you could find it. And so I think that that's too blatantly obvious. If the channel's too big, they have to let you still see the channel. What they'll do is they'll show you the channel at the top, and then they'll just show you a bunch of hit piece videos
Right.
as soon as they can, right? And then if you look up a specific stream, like I said, geocentrism, then it'll show you everything in the world other than my video.
And it's crazy that people even doubt this. I mean, in Congress, They said this. The congressman asked the head of YouTube at the time. So what you're saying is if people search for is the earth flat, you're going to give them content that says no, the earth is a sphere. Yes. Okay, good. And that was like word for word, almost verbatim of how the conversation went. They're not hiding this.
Well, check this out. So like if you right now, I just went to incognito witsitgetsit. My channel pops up and then it shows the latest from witsitgetsit. It shows is Trump the chosen one, Zionism, but neither one of these are about flat earth. If you keep coming down.
And it's you getting arrested.
Yeah, exactly. It's me getting arrested, and then it's my atheism debate. Then you keep going down, and it's
top 5.
What's
I mean, this is all. This is like hand
reaction.
selected. This is like hand picked.
Yeah, it's like 865 views from 5 months ago. Why is that up at the top?
Yeah,
And then, then it says flat Earth argument that disproves flat Earth theory. Dave McKeegan. Like, I don't even put flat Earth in any of my keywords ever.
Neither do I.
Why is flat Earth popping up all of a sudden?
Well, and I noticed this too. Like, if you search which it gets it, why would it come up as the you getting arrested, which doesn't even have that in the title? Scientist gets arrested at Mount Rushmore.
Exactly.
As crowd cheers. So clearly somebody put this at the top, because otherwise it's not going by title first. That doesn't make any sense. You think that?
I don't even. Yeah, I don't even think it says. I don't think it says it in the description either.
Yeah,
it doesn't have my channel. It doesn't say
here
my
it says
name.
What's it gets it channel.
Oh, it's at the very bottom. It's at the very bottom.
Okay, but again,
at the
I
very
don't know.
bottom it says What's it gets its
like
channel.
Somebody's hand selecting that. Seems like.
No, it has to be because why is he popping up above my channel? Like I don't know.
Let me see if
it's pretty obvious, right? I guess what they're going to try to say is, but it's allowed on YouTube. That's why it's actually brilliant, because flat Earth isn't a subject that they just eliminate from YouTube blatantly. So it's like, oh, it's not completely censored.
Then
right?
It would be obvious, right?
Yeah, but like, also it's like you can't even come up with a narrative as to why it should be, because like with the whole situation that happened in 2020, obviously like you're saving lives, right? People could die, or it's racist, or it's hate speech, or they have some type of cover. Like with flat Earth, there's nothing like that. They can't. There is no cover to eliminate it. So they have to just go the shadow ban route, and then they just delete our channels for vague reasons, you know. But yeah, anyway, I think that I don't want to get too into the philosophical things on the show because we only have such a short period of time. But
yeah,
I think it's worth a few minutes like addressing this idea that like it's a psyop, because that's what they all say, and that just doesn't even make logical sense, right? Like, I think I might bring up at the back of Alex Jones' book. It's just not true.
No,
it's stupid.
It's just false. Yeah, and I mean, they've got the little boxes that go under the videos that say flat Earth is an ancient conception. I mean, that's not done on anything else, at least that I've seen.
Yeah, and like I will say, I mean, Harrison has a huge advantage, right? I'm coming on his platform. He's curating questions to ask me. They have commercial breaks. He can bring them in at any point in time. He's able to just go see every one of my arguments. It's not like it's hidden, right? It's right there for the world to see. I have no idea what he's going to say. And it still doesn't matter, right? It's like I still have a huge advantage. I have the actual
I don't
advantage.
think anybody's like scared or anything. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, it's just I mean, I'll even say I've been saying kind of what my idea is. My idea is like this conversation can be broken down into two like primary points, right? It's motion and curvature.
Mm-hmm.
And those are separate things, right? Like, is the Earth moving and is the Earth flat are two separate questions, right? The Earth can not be moving, and that doesn't mean it's flat. So we have to address that part. And I've always said this, but we're not dealing with like what is the truth, right? Like people aren't having the conversation like, I wonder what the truth is. Let's figure it out. It's way too embarrassing to publicly be skeptical or question something that's considered so foundational in the mainstream. So the solar system, when you say, do you believe in the solar system? That sounds insane. So like, it's the whole mainstream model of what the Earth is. It's a bundle package, and breaking that cognitus of like the mainstream model isn't correct is a huge step forward. That's why I think talking about motion at first is probably the best, right? Because if you get someone to concede that the Earth, there is no actual evidence that the Earth is moving. The Earth could be in the center. That's what the evidence actually shows. then all of a sudden the mainstream model is gone, right? And now you don't have that thing like kind of hovering over your head of, you know what I'm saying? Does that make sense? Like, I think that that's a good way to ease people in, is motion and then curvature. But I don't know. I'm open to suggestion, I guess.
I think those are the best. I mean, but I do think at the beginning it would be good to talk about it not being a psyop, because I do think that's what most truthers who aren't believers in it think.
Yeah, I mean, I've been kicked off Venmo, PayPal. They brought me back. You've been kicked off PayPal. I was kicked off Airbnb.
Absolutely.
You know, like constantly censored everywhere, shadow banned everywhere. You've been kicked off PayPal, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, I mean, and got removed from an Amazon affiliate, and couldn't sell fast-growing trees, which is recent. But I bought some trees and then tried to get on their affiliate list, and they turned me down because of my YouTube channel. Like, what? What are people who believe that there was two shooters or more than one shooter in JFK that they can't buy trees from you? I guess not.
Well, you know how this goes, right? Like, so if you go into a situation like this, you have all these things that you want to say, similar to like Tripoli, but then you get in there and it's just like it all goes out the window, right? Like, that's not. It never works like that. It's like in the moment you adapt and you talk about what it is. But
right, always it works that way.
One thing that I would like to, but Tripoli was much more of like a friendly environment, right? But I do want to cover the behind the curve thing. Like I think that I want to cover the whole Psyop aspect, and then I want to be able to. I'm trying to find a way to fit this all into an intro without talking super fast.
And because I've got the emails. I don't know what people want to hear. That's the thing. There's so many things. The emails that they lied, said they have the extra footage, but won't give it.
But
to
I
me.
kept it very concise. Like, look, so on Tripoli, right when that came up, I kept it very simple. I'm like, I mean, they admitted that it's a hit piece, and their excuse was that when they went to the conference, they saw that there were children involved, and they said that they felt it was their duty to prevent people from looking into it, so they intentionally created a hit piece deceptively. I mean, that summarizes the whole thing, right? Like,
yeah,
there are all kinds of details as to how they did it, but like that's just a summary of the situation.
Correct. And they're on camera saying that.
Yeah, and so that's all that really needs to be said about that. That means that if you're invoking that thing, you should ask yourself, why would they have to do that? And then, so I want to cover falsifications independent of replacement. So like first thing is like this idea that it's a psyop, right? It doesn't really make sense. And maybe use Alex Jones' book, right? The quote as a way to an applicable way to kind of address that point quickly. Then how when people look into it, they find these mainstream propaganda films that are intentionally lying and deceiving the audience into believing that it's a globe. Why would you have to do that, right? And I want to use like Nat Geo and Behind the Curve as an example of that, but without details, just super quick. And then to like kind of go into the conversation, I want to point out that kind of everyone's initial reaction to flat earth is, well, then how would this work? How would that work? And it's like a natural response, right? Like I had the same type of questions. I'm like, flat earth, what does that even mean? Like, how can I determine if that's possibly true? I don't even know what it means. Like flat earth, what is it? Like, how would this work? Like that's a natural step. But people need to realize that, falsification is independent of replacement. And our experience is that the Earth's a stationary plane and things move in the sky. There's a claim that everything's the opposite of that. We falsified their claim of what the Earth is. That's the first step. It stands on its own, right? And that doesn't go away if you think you come up with a question that a flat earther doesn't know the answer to. And I think that's also like the biggest point. Falsifications independent of replacement is a huge part of all of this. If you don't have your mind in the right state to understand the way that logic works, then you'll watch me just destroy a globe earther for an hour straight, but then they ask me one question I don't know the answer to, and somehow that all just ceases to exist. Yeah. So anyway, that's kind of my idea. That's the meta, and then I just want to go for motion and curvature. We'll see how it goes. I think we'll just have to, we'll take it as it comes. And I'm a believer, so I think the creator will.
Jenny is right. I mean, that's what I was saying the other night, is that the people love the system and the comfort of being lied to. It's really what they've done is just done a good job of making people really. And I mean, you were saying this back in Venice. Remember, you were speaking to the crowd at Venice, and you were talking about the slaves and how it's just like, one slave figures out a way out, and he's coming in saying, "Let's go, guys," and they're like, "No, tomorrow's Thursday. We play poker on Thursday." It's like, no, I found a way out of here right now. Let's go. We're enslaved. Let's get out of here. And they're like, "No, we have got poker tomorrow. We're happy here."
Like, dude, we'll play poker every night, bro.
Right. We can play poker tonight. Just get the hell out of here with me. But they love it too much. Then they jump you. They beat you up, and they send pictures of you to the masters saying, "Look at this guy is not wearing a mask. Didn't you tell everybody to wear masks? This guy's not wearing one. Please come and arrest him." That's the world that we live in now. So
yeah,
pretty rough.
It's crazy. Also, like when it comes into the why would they lie, a slave is a good analogy as well, right? Because what they used to do to slaves all around the world, because I don't know if you guys knew, it was of course all around the world. They would demoralize the slaves. So like one of the ways they did that was they'd split up families, right?
Right.
Because it would demoralize them. Like if you were trying to take me over and I'm like with my daughter, like you're gonna have a hard time. But like when you just demoralize a man by splitting up their family, or they would take the strongest man and castrate them in front of everyone else or whatever, right? Like
right.
There's truth to these stories, and it's because the psychological effects it has. And if you have no purpose, no meaning, if you've been demoralized, you're so easy to control. And that's what this lie does. Whether that was the intentional reason behind it or not, doesn't matter. That's the effect, is nihilism and apathy built off of atheism has stemmed from this worldview, and it makes people so easy to control because they have no purpose. They don't understand that there's a purpose. So like the demoralization aspect is a major component of why they would lie, I think, right? And slaves are a good way to break all of this down, including what you brought up, Stockholm Syndrome, because they do, in fact, treat us as if we're slaves,
right.
Which you would think Infowars knows that better than anyone, as he's literally coined the term prison planet, right?
Right.
What do they say? A man defending his family and home is worth 10 paid soldiers. So they don't want that.
Was that an actual saying?
Yeah.
Well, that was from like Braveheart, the movie Braveheart.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's so cool. I always used to say that. I used to say, if you came into my house and my wife and children are there, you're gonna have a tough time. I got 12 magazines that say you're not coming in my house.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? No cap. But like if like I'm here by myself and I'm just some bachelor, like sure I may still fight, but it's just not gonna be the same.
Right.
It's not gonna be the same at all. Like so. Yeah, I think that's important. I don't know. I will just say I'm open to all suggestions though. I don't want like because I know a bunch of people are like, this is the moment, don't mess it up or whatever. Like I'm open to any suggestions as to what they think, and then I want everyone to realize like when you actually get into moments like this, it's a little different than, it's just like playing football. You can have your game plan, but then they blitz first down, right? Like you don't know what's going to happen. So yeah, I'm open to suggestions from anyone. How you guys think I should kind of approach it? Because my current objective is to keep it cool, but I don't want it to be like a fight. You know what I'm saying?
No. You see, you're great at being cordial. This isn't going to be like a Glober.
No way, I don't think so.
I don't see him coming at you like that. He might think he has some gotchas and this and that. I'm sure you'll just brush it off. But yeah, as long as you just be you, the way you always do it, I think it's going to go great.
Nice, thank you, man. You guys familiar with Harrison?
I don't know much,
I haven't
but
watched Infowars in a while.
I've seen him a couple times. Does he debate other topics? Is that why they asked you, or they asked who do you want to debate next?
I think occasionally, yeah. I think every one of the hosts there will have someone on that they disagree with, right?
Right.
At times, but like, dude is on point with so much stuff, bro.
Yeah, I heard him in like Robot Polishers videos, but that's really the only place.
Well, same here, but like that's a perfect example. He highlights the moments I'm talking about, right?
Right.
Where it sounds like he's talking about flat Earth.
Yeah, it sounds like he's a flat earther. Right, it does.
Yeah, he says it's so perfect. One time he even used the analogy of left and right, and he's like, basically you're inundated with liberalism and leftist ideology. So the default position of everyone in society is that.
Right.
Is this like moral relativism, this heightened state of quote unquote progressive acceptance, and that's what everyone just thinks is normal. That's the default position. And in order to actually move away from that, you have to do diligent research. And when you first hear what these other people think, you think they sound crazy. You have no idea what they're talking about. It just sounds ridiculous. And everyone knows that's not the case. And you have to actually go and, look behind the curtain and put in your own time and your own research, and then diligently figure out what's really going on. And then you become you're the much more informed side, and the much more informed side is always on this side of the spectrum. It's like you're describing flat Earth right now, like you're to a T. The default position is that the Earth's a globe. No one knows why. I went and proved that with hundreds of hours of streams, right? Like no one in the world even knows how long it takes the Earth to move around the sun. Like they don't know anything, but they all think they know. They're all very arrogant. They're all like make fun of you for being stupid. But then there's a group of people that looks back into it and they're really, really informed and they know a lot about the subject. They're the flat earthers. Like I guess that's kind of the point. Is like if he is on our team.
Like if there was ever anybody that would possibly change their mind, it would be him. Like if there was ever anybody who's going to debate it and then change their mind, which we haven't seen yet, right? Has anybody been actually somebody to publicly debate it and then change their mind?
No.
I think
You're exactly right. Yeah, I think one of the things is he's like he kind of defended the moon landing with Owen Benjamin one time, I think. And at the end, he kind of threw his hands up like, oh, well, we'll never know. And I think he's kind of into the space thing. He thinks space is cool. I think that's his hiccup, right? Same with Alex Jones.
Right. Yeah, he thinks
it's the space thing. And they think that there's some truth to seek a space program type of thing,
Right. They want to believe that people did go to the moon, but they faked the pictures just in case, that whole thing.
But there is probably some truth to a secret space program in that what's really up there we don't know, and what they can really get to we don't know either. Right. So
or they're going to outer space beyond Antarctica, if there is such a thing.
You guys want to see?
I think they're doing stuff above us too, though, right? Like personally, I think that there is crazy stuff above us. I think that we'd be amazed.
I've been told that there are platforms up there with people in them, like floating 70,000 plus feet. That there are like bases.
I wouldn't doubt that, especially
even ancient civilizations said that.
Yeah. I want to show you this video just to kind of give you an idea of things that we don't know yet that are just coming out now. This is let's see if I can put this on here. This just came out the other day. How about 2 weeks ago? But I just saw it, and it's this video here. Make sure you guys can see it. Do you see? Shoot, let me move this a little bit. So this one off. Hold on a second, it's not working. All right, this one. So there's a green screen video. You see it? So this video is called. I just saw it, and it's like talk about quietly coming out with something crazy. So this video is called "This Invention Made Disney Millions, but then they lost it." So I'm like, all right, what's that about? So they're going to talk about a technique here for green screening that is better than green screen, better than blue screen. And has been hidden by Disney since when? The 1960s. And I bet you this is what they use. And then I was searching last night.
Wait. When was this published?
2 weeks ago.
My. Okay. I don't want to. We'll just watch it. Because like I found a document from the CIA from the 60s where they talk about.
Oh, yeah. I've showed that. Dude, me and you are on the same. I talked about that literally the day before you posted it on Twitter. And then I talked about something, and then you saw that I talked about it, and you're like, good, I just talked about this. It was crazy.
It's crazy. Yeah.
But now this just came out 2 weeks ago, and this is insane what these guys found. And now it's crazy because it's easier than green screening and blue screening. It's quicker, and it's just been hidden by Disney, and I'm sure NASA. And then I started searching. Well, just see if you guys catch. I don't want to listen. The whole thing's 12 minutes. I'll try and skip through some of it. We'll see.
Like visual effects in old movies were better. What if I told you that wasn't just nostalgia speaking? Back in the 1960s, Disney invented a technology that was in many ways superior to the green screen. But that tech has long since been forgotten. And what if I told you that we found a way to recreate it? Being able to layer one moving image over another is the fundamental building block of visual effects. Every single crazy effect shot from every movie you love relies on this basic core technique. And the primary way we do that is with green screen or blue screen. But there are lots of problems with green screen, even in this modern era. You can't film blurry or transparent things. You can't wear clothes that are the same color as the screen. And the spill of the color oftentimes ruins footage. If I want to make a movie about a clown wearing all the colors of the rainbow getting married on Mars, I can't. And that bothers me. If I could get my hands on an invention that didn't have any of these issues, it would be like a filmmaking superpower. It would be like magic.
Do you really think so?
What's special about that app?
It's transparent.
It's transparent.
It's transparent.
I thought the stuff I was seeing on screen was impossible. They're keying a veil. They're keying salt, smoke. They're even wearing blue and green clothes. This movie from 1964 broke every rule of chroma keying, and they did it all without computers. So how did they do it? To explain the science behind the magic, we are joined by Dr. Paul Debevic.
The sodium vapor process. Instead of a blue screen or a green screen, they used what was sometimes called a yellow screen. It was a very specific spectrum of yellow made from a low pressure sodium vapor light that puts out one wavelength of light at 589 nanometers. Because it's just one wavelength, and because of how dichroic filters work, you can actually block just that one wavelength or let just that one wavelength go through. So the magic of the sodium vapor process is they used a beam splitter prism so that the light that comes through the lens gets split onto two strips of film at the same time. The sodium vapor wavelength of 589 nanometers reflects out this way, and all the rest of the spectrum goes through and can expose a color image of the actor. And that's exactly what you need to get your map. What's kind of magical about it is that you can block that one wavelength of yellow without messing up all of the other colors. In that scene, there's no matte lines. He's motion blurring, he's dancing around. The compositing is impeccable.
Yeah, it's perfect.
You couldn't have gotten such great blur over the alpha channel with a green screen or a blue screen.
It seems too good to be true. Why are we not still using this technology today?
Yeah, really, what gives? Because they were never able to replicate prisms.
What?
I've read that Disney was only able to produce one prism. Is that true?
They had to join two pieces of glass and then have layers of material with different indices of refraction. It's a very custom job, and it would probably cost tens of thousands of dollars at a minimum. Apparently there were 3 of these ever made, and also we don't know where any of these prisms are today.
And that means that I'm never going to get to answer this burning question I have. Is sodium vapor better than green screen? The science, the physics, they all tell me it is. But because the prisms have been lost to time, I'm never going to get to realize my dream of a clown getting married on Mars. And then one day, I got a message from Paul Debevic. He had done what I thought was impossible. He had recreated Disney's magic prism, and he needed somebody to test it out. This will be the first test of the sodium vapor process in over 30 years.
Well, I guess this is like our hello world of sodium vapor matting. We've got...
Just gonna skip forward a little bit. They're just setting up, showing different, filming themselves do different things that you wouldn't be able to do on a green screen, and then checking how it looks with the sodium vapor level layer. So I'll start here.
Paul's research has been super influential on me. To get to work with him on an experiment is super, super cool. I hope this works. All right, let's take a look at what we got. Here's what our color footage looks like. And if I look at the sodium vapor shot, wow, it looks pretty good. Let's see what happens if I take that and turn it into a black and white transparency mask. Wow, this should work really well. But before I try pulling a transparency key here, I need to also try this with green screen to do a true comparison to know if this is better. I'm using all the tricks for perfect green screen that I've acquired over the years. Lights with a hint of green on them, lights on Jordan with a hint of magenta to cancel out the green spill from the green screen. I'm going to do my best to light this green screen and shoot it as good as I can. All right, hi, you're on Mars, wave to us, the audience. So we all know that sodium vapor should give scientifically better results. But green screen tools have had years and years and years to mature. I can start pulling in the thickness of that matte, but while the dress starts to come back, the veil now has these ugly lines. So I can try to, close the holes in the dress using a different tool here, but it patches up the holes in the veil. There's just no way to handle the range of greens here, and for green screen tools to know what we want to keep and what we don't want to keep.
Oh no! Yuck! Destroyed.
Ew.
Actually not that bad.
Be honest, did you do your best with the key?
I did. The issue is I can't get the transparency of the veil and like the slightly off green dress. In fact, the only way you could do a shot like this is to go in and cut out all these different sections by hand and have a bunch of patchwork different solutions in the image. If the sodium vapor process is superior, it won't have any of these issues. All right, so it's time to try the sodium vapor process, do the composite and see if it works. Here we have JC and here we have our background, right? And the way we're going to do this actually mirrors the way they did it on film back in the day. So the thing is, if you just take 2 pieces of film and you layer them over each other, you end up with a double exposure. You need something called a holdout mat that leaves a hole for you to simply add your other image on top. So we're going to take our background and we're going to subtract the matte. We're going to take our foreground and we're going to subtract everything that isn't the matte. Now we take our background and our foreground and we simply add them together.
Honestly, I'm really excited to see this because it felt like we were doing one of the coolest, most high-tech things we've ever done, and I would love for this to pay off.
Here are the results, and I'll let you guys be the judge.
Whoa! Wow! That's wild!
Dude, it's Mary Poppins.
This is amazing.
It's incredible.
No, you dog! Water! He's drinking water on Mars! This is my favorite one. The water is just such a flex.
Check out the motion blur.
Oh, the hands. Oh!
Wow.
The motion blur drops the color exposure correctly on the background right there. Turns it red.
Oh, correct math. Oh my god, it's so good.
Dude, those little tiny hairs on top. Oh my god.
And I didn't have to do any work.
You didn't have to tweak your like white clip, black
No,
clip.
I hate that.
D-spill bias?
No, there's no spill.
What about your edge feather?
No edge feather, no D-spill, no messing with gamma of your matte, no thresholds, no restoring fringe, no cleaning the blacks, no cleaning the whites, nothing.
He's turned it on.
You just turn it on.
Wow.
Good job, good job.
That is amazing.
I'm Mary Poppins, y'all!
So I just got the opinion of everybody at Corridor, but I need to get the opinion that actually really matters.
Oh, wow. You're zooming in on it. You are not afraid of your matte lines. That was clearly exactly what needed to be filmed to show off this technique.
Exactly.
What about a volume? Couldn't you use a volume?
In today's age, when you can just go and shoot on a volume with an LED screen, is sodium vapor worth pursuing?
In practice, a lot of those in-camera backgrounds will get replaced.
So it seems like we're still in a world where we need to be able to cut out backgrounds and put people on new things.
Yeah, flexibility in post-production is incredibly valuable. One thing that you're noticing is like compositing tools are getting better because they're starting to have a bit of machine learning inside of them. Machine learning needs training data. The question is, where do you get all that training data? There is no perfect, easy compositing technique, and I thought this would be a good way to do it.
So sodium vapor is another one of those essential steps in this progress towards having perfect transparency for compositing and visual effects then.
Absolutely. It is the...
So pretty crazy. I just am seeing Ion's cat says that Dilly Gill's already covered this 5 years ago, so I'm going to watch the video that she linked. But she said NASA bought the Prism from Disney and made them never make another one. That's my speculation. Obviously, we know Disney was working with NASA in 1960 when this was all taking place. How did it just go away? It's so much quicker and easier. Think of if you've ever used a green screen, you've played with the dial and tried to get it perfect with the amount of spill and the amount of opacity, and you'll never get it right. It's always going to be just off a little bit. Now there's a way. There's always been a way to do it. You don't need to do any of that. It's simply filming through this prism that separates the two colors, or not the two colors, one color and then the rest. And then when you put them back together, now you can do things in front. So that's just crazy. What do you guys think? And I want to watch Dilly Gill's video here just to see. He claims, where does it say here? She said, Dilly Gill covers exactly how NASA used the sodium vapor process. Here, NASA's most beloved fraud, upload 5. So we'll watch this one. And then I remember Bob used to talk about the sodium layer above the Earth. The sodium vapor layer above the Earth. Remember that?
Mm-hmm.
So
if this is so great, why?
Because it was hidden.
People use it.
Because it was hidden until now they basically rediscovered it. But I started thinking about it. I'm like, okay, let's just pretend that NASA really did. Disney really did have something like this. I could see a company keeping a trade secret like that.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So we can't just say that, it just automatically because they didn't release it doesn't mean that it's because of something nefarious. It could be, but we know Disney,
made
right?
That movie Cool World. Was that a Disney movie?
Cool
with
World?
what's his name? Legends of the Fall, blah, 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 Brad Pitt.
Cool World. I don't think I remember.
It was one of his first movies. I don't think it was his first one, but it was him in a cartoon world. There was a bunch of cartoons.
This is Dilly Gill's video. Let's watch a little bit of this.
So let's start with the first American scuba space event. So here I hope to answer the question to the eternal mystery of why he looks like he is floating around with the toilet edited out by the special effects team. Now first up I want to say NASA are going for the big sell here. This is important to their future.
Absolutely.
The public have to buy this, and in order to get the best special effects, this is not done live. The audio with the control room uses the live talk-over tool of deception. In the space shuttle era they worked out how to do the spacewalks live, and were able to extend the coverage substantially. I will cover how shortly. So here we see our brave spacewalker leaking like a sieve during training. Do NASA not have a suit that can hold pressure underwater? Are we to believe that they have a suit that can hold pressure in the rigors of space, but do not have a suit that can hold pressure in the pool? This is just a small perversity on a long list of perverse items we find with NASA. The public would reasonably expect to see pressure on the spacesuit, given that they're in a vacuum, and NASA dutifully fulfilled that expectation. Here he is being popped out of the water, unable to move his limbs properly due to the pressure of the suit being inflated, and taking that infamous form and difficulty associated with the first spacewalk. So they recorded him underwater, isolated his image, then in this scene superimposed him onto the cartoon ball background. The tech to do this was available at the time, provided it was not done live, and there is no proof whatsoever that this was performed live.
No.
So here we see them staging a scene, and all you need to do is exchange the lighting for sodium vapor lighting, and you can achieve any matte you like. The sodium vapor camera was first used in cinema production for Mary Poppins, and was applauded for its ability to have clean definition and fine detailing. In the Mary Poppins film, the detailing was so fine they were able to have her wear a veil, and the sodium vapor process could even detail smoke. Here we see our first space air bubbles racing towards the top of the pool. I think NASA saw potential in this method of fakery and started as they meant to continue. There is too little footage from Skylab to warrant a substantial explanation. There could have been in the scuba space tank with back screen projection for the Earth. The live talkover tool of deception may have been used, combined with the post-production video footage with the props and subaquanauts being recorded in the pool, using the sodium vapor camera technique to get the raw footage of apparent weightlessness and a backdrop of the Earth being added in post-production. There is a good chance they used both techniques, of some live footage and some post-production footage. The purpose of my expose of the shuttle era is to focus on the how of the fraud. So having seen that we can explain all the Skylab and Gemini scuba tank activities with the moving image special effects of their era and the tools of deception, we can move straight on to the shuttle era. God sometimes throws me a straight ball as I research the how of the space shuttle fraud. Here, having figured out they were using backscreen projection, I caught this break on the materials that can be used for this trick. For anyone trying this at home, please note he mentions it is the frosted shower curtains, and also note there are 3 projectors on the 3 screens. This is important for the scale NASA were using. They would have needed to use multiple projectors, linked in unison to cover the necessary area for the projection of the Earth. Wikipedia tells us they could link 3 projectors for one screen using the rear projection effect to boost the resolution as early as 1933. So on NASA's budget in 1970, linking various screen projections together to give a much larger overall projection was easily possible. The significance of this material is that NASA could lay the shower screen on the surface of the pool and project onto the back of it.
So I researched the death out of them, trying to figure out a cheap way to make them or something. And what I came up with, what you saw last week and thought was professional, I made out of shower curtains and duct tape.
Now let's move straight on to the proof that this is the method being used. This footage comes from the STS-51D FOIA request. Fanboys, I'm not citing this as proof of fraud, rather this is for those that have been paying attention and already know it is a fraud. This is just proof of technique. So here we're looking straight up at the surface of the pool. The shower curtain projection will be no more than a few meters away from the top of the OMS pod. We have lighting coming from the side to represent the sun. However, we also have shadow emanating from the light of the rear screen projector that manifests here, distributed as such that the light source is above. As the camera pans around, we get to see the side of the pool, which I suspect is covered with a light-absorbing material. Let me just turn that around so we have it the right side up. And now I have zoomed in so we can see the edge of the pool and the shower curtain in close-up. We can see that any light spilling through and reflecting off the top of the edge of the pool can be passed off as the limb of the Earth. Note also is a circular edge to the pool rather than the GoPro effect.
And every day I just pinch myself and think this can't be real. I told Jeff and Dave as they came back in from the EVA that I had watched the whole thing from the windows on the flight deck, and all the time I was watching, I thought, this can't be real. I'm not here. I'm not seeing this. This is on TV. And I'm sure after we all get back, we're going to feel the same way. That didn't really happen.
So in this clip, the guy just comes out and says he's working in the pool. And I do believe him when he says the pool he is working in is deeper than the training pool. Now, fanboys, I watched clips like this when I was a believer, and I thought, wow, these guys are cool under pressure. So I understand your perspective. It just amuses me that the spell is so powerful they can tell you how it is done, and you just cannot comprehend it. A faith that soothes and all of that.
Got a good shot of Mother Earth behind you there, Story. Deeper pool, I've been used to working in. That's great, comparing the spacewalk to his earthly training in the water tank. Saying it's a little deeper pool than he's used to working in.
In this scene, the
And then they
shuttle is
bring
horizontal in
attention
the
to
pool,
it. That's
and there seems to
crazy.
be
Right,
no
that's
angle
how
of sunlight.
sure they are.
The lighting and shadowing seems to be coming directly from the surface of the pool. As the camera pulls back, we get to see the edge of
Wow.
the circular pool.
Goodness, that is not the Earth.
Now, it's not all terrible film quality from NASA, and this is why we have such a problem breaking the spell the fanboys are under. This is recorded in 1984 using the IMAX camera, and was played in the IMAX cinemas. I know this because on the longer version of this clip, which I foolishly did not save and now can't find, I saw a fanboy swooning of this era and his visit to the IMAX cinema, and stating how impossible it is to fake this quality of footage in 1984. Therefore, Globe. The quantity of live footage from a spacewalk, even to the control room, was way lower in 1984 than it is nowadays, as revealed from my Mission 16 FOIA request. So as I flip this over, it does not look so impressive, and we know this is a post-production release, i.e. there was never any live footage from the IMAX camera.
What's crazy to me is that that video just comes out of them redoing that sodium vapor layer, and Billy Gill knew it 5 years ago. It's crazy. I don't remember seeing that video. Always had doubts about all this footage, obviously. Let me fast forward a little bit, see if we can find something else.
All live productions are high risk and ultimately should have been the downfall of NASA. However, it is the combination of the tools and the high-mindedness of the public that keeps the fantasy secure. The low vision quality of the live broadcast, or crappy vision as I like to call it, helped to hide many a sin. For the modern-day poolside activity, the computer technology exists to render in the Earth live in any position they choose. I do wonder if they have a large green screen on the side of the pool. Given the length of the ISS, this would save on the depth of the pool, although only a percentage of the ISS gets shown in each walk. They could be projecting onto acrylic glass at the side of the pool, or onto the top of the pool using more advanced back-screen projection technology, rendering in high definition. And I wonder this because of the use of the GoPro cameras by the aquanauts. It would be easier if the projection of the Earth was live in the pool with them.
That's what I've always said. I've never understood why they use GoPros. Because if they're faking it, why not just use a regular camera and use an image of a ball Earth? Someone hear what he said again there?
Projection technology, rendering in high definition. And I wonder this because of the use of the GoPro cameras by the aquanauts. It would be easier if the projection of the Earth was live in the pool with them, whether it be at the side or on the top. That said, I suspect the technique varies from pool walk to pool walk, depending on how much the ISS they need to show in the majority of the scenes, and what technology is available at any given time. These events now span decades. So a common objection I hear is that if they were filming in a pool, then you would get residue of the lighting passing through the medium of the water, and then fanboys confidently boast that this just does not happen. Here is some evidence to the contrary. There are many, many, many examples of this type of imagery. I would go so far as to say that poor vision quality is the norm.
You can definitely see it waving.
Absolutely. And I've tried before to like zoom into these and like break it up and look at the, change colors, crank levels. And I always thought that I would see a scuba diver here, but I wasn't thinking the way he's explaining it, which makes much more sense.
To long-range shots. Now, there are rare examples of the exception to the rule, and I welcome regular viewers of my channel and fanboys to post links and timestamps if they find any like this. I suspect this view is a post-production recording and is spliced into the live footage. Honestly, this is what all the footage should look like. From this same spacewalk, we get images like this and like this. The bubbles have been covered by other researchers, and I have historically been more interested in the internal footage. However, I want to talk about NASA managing your expectations. The general public's expectation of NASA are so low, they generally do not complain, despite some of the appalling footage they are fed. We have seen how the post-footage of spacewalks. So yellow is the colour of sodium vapour lighting. We see in this walk from 2017 they were clearly having issues with their live rendering tech. From the same mission, we see the yellow leaking through on the edges of the equipment, but we see the Earth very nicely. So I've turned the image so we can enjoy a good view of the pool edge. I think this is what the spacewalk mostly looked like in the pool, i.e. this is how the back screen projection of the Earth was actually lit on this particular spacewalk. By removing the yellow, I can isolate the Earth, but you can see the yellow leaking through on the edges. I suspect that NASA are backfilling the Earth live whilst minimizing light rays. Only in this scene the tech is not working properly. From this same scene, I can also remove the colour completely. Although we get a fair amount of colour views from the STS-61 scuba walk, we do also get a lot of black and white views. And fanboys, I know, it's hard communicating with space. The exact significance of lighting in magic pink and sodium vapour yellow is hard for me to say. But the fact these specific...
Well, now it makes sense because the magenta, I just heard this today. I never understood why I always see magenta when I watch live ISS footage. I never understood this colored purple, but now I understand. They say that it's the opposite of the green. So you have to shine that on the astronauts. And again, we've all said that they use multiple different ways. So one of the ways would be, like that guy said, to give me a better green screen, I have to have lights with green, or I have to have magenta lights, which you put those on the subject so that it counteracts the green screen, which is exactly what you usually see. The ISS for some reason will show up in full magenta.
Issue? Or is this magic pink the colour of the lighting they use to remove the effects of light rays in the water? So here we have the live view of Earth with supposedly the sun in view, and the image is all washed out.
A little bright from the helmet camera of Thomas Pesquet, again identified by the number 20 at the bottom corner of the screen.
And here we have the post-production view from the same spacewalk with the supposed sun and Earth in view, looking all magnificent. So please use some discernment when posting links. And
look at
a little bright from the helmet camera of Thomas Pesquet, again identified by the number 20 at the bottom corner of the screen.
Like it's getting
and here
aired
we
out.
have the post-production view from
And
the
now
same
it's gone.
spacewalk with the supposed sun and Earth in view, looking all magnificent. So please use some discernment when posting links and think about what it is you are watching. So which is it, NASA? Can the cameras handle a direct view of the sun and difficult lighting conditions, or not? Not when it is live, apparently. The image quality is as low as you like on a video downlink. In the spirit of pink being the new normal and an error becoming the acceptable standard, I think NASA are so satisfied by the apologetics for the space bubbles, which they call ice crystals, they do not even bother to remove them from the post-production views. When heading out to do a spacewalk, there is nothing like doing boastful dances and Satan worshipping just before you head out the door. Facing huge risks and a horrible death, the only scenario where this would be likely conduct is if you're really heading into a pool.
Right.
Spacewalks cover decades and different techniques would have been employed throughout the years. However, I do think they were always done in the pool, even to this day. In the space shuttle era, I'm confident they were using backscreen projection on the top of the pool. Bubbles have been covered extensively by others, so it only seems right to rip off their work. Link to the video will be in the description.
I had never heard that before. The guy say, this is a much deeper pool than I'm used to practicing.
I haven't either. Is this going to be just some bubbles? I'll watch this and we'll be down here. Okay, let's turn down the volume. Let's try me crazy. Is he trying to show bubbles? I can't see any on this screen. Oh, I saw one. One just left there. It's funny. I wonder if you could always tell if the bubbles always go in the direction of where he's saying the pool is, right? If this is a pool edge, and you just saw the thing go directly in that direction. There's another one went up that way. Notice, like, you never see, why don't you see paint flecks going this way? Or whatever they call them, ice crystals. Why would the ice crystals always head towards the surface?
Yeah, the same direction.
It should go all over in space, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't see any going any other direction.
System malfunction.
That's pretty incredible. And I've got all kinds of bubble footage. I'm just wondering if they're all going that direction. I'll have to check that out. Any comments on that?
That was great. Well done. That was what, 5 years old?
Yeah, so I said, or 6 years. I forgot what it said.
Wow. Yeah, I missed that one.
Pretty incredible. And I think that just goes in line. All this stuff is, I think we're starting to uncover exactly how they faked most of the moon landing. As far as the rover footage, I think that I don't know how anybody could argue with the size of those mountains never changing. You never get a perspective view changing. Seems definitely like there's an issue with that. The looking sideways and not getting any parallax from sideways views out of the rover tells you that you're looking at a backdrop, which is pretty obvious in all the footage. You know, where the backdrop begins and the actual foreground is pretty easy to tell.
Well, at least we're seeing where some of the money's going. There actually are, you know, going through some pretty long lengths to try to fake it.
Well, you know how they say that what people be like, dude, the technology to fake it didn't even exist back then.
Yeah.
And
even though we just showed that it
it's
did.
totally not true. It's so stupid. Like literally, the CIA has a document that's talking about. First of all, why is it of great interest to the CIA in the mid '60s how technology in the USSR existed to fake films and basically use chroma key in the '60s. But it's called the traveling matte method, you know, and it uses infrared. So using like the contrast of the infrared wavelength, it can basically overlay objects with, you know, an imposed background like green screen or blue screen, but just with infrared. And it completely removes any outlines. Makes it where there's no discernible outlines. In the 60s, bro. In the 60s, they're talking about this. That technology wasn't even patented until like later in the 70s.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, I guess a logical person might wonder, why is our government obsessed with this in the mid 60s with you know, technology to fake films, and why'd they keep it classified till 2013? But you know,
big shout out over on Rockman. Yuppie Dirtball donated $10.
Yuppie Dirtball, nice name.
Yuppie Dirtball, I love it. And then Dakota Dunn says, "Globebusters are my favorite part of Sundays. Thanks and love you guys. Tipped $100. Thank you, Dakota."
Thank you.
Wow, thank you, man. Very generous.
Very, very kind.
I mean, did you see that document at all, Jeran?
Yeah, I've shown it before. It's the CIA that says that they sent some people over to Russia, movie executives, and several things were important to the United States. One of them being the traveling matte method that is used to replace. Yeah, then you search. What was it called? What did they call it? Traveling matte. But
traveling matte, yeah.
And it says,
I
and
use
also,
generative AI for Google, by the way. It's a freaking game changer. Anyone that's not using that, you should.
And then it
Generative
says they
AI
use,
for your Google search.
No,
And what
what
it
is that?
does is it'll pull all the sources and it'll give you an answer to your question with the sources below it. So if you need to know anything that doesn't need to be censored or any of the mainstream answers, it's like game changer. But yeah, if you look up traveling matte, right, it'll tell you a traveling matte is a film technique that uses silhouettes of subjects to mask off areas during printing, creating an opaque mask that matches the subject's movements.
It's the same thing.
This
we just
allows
saw,
the subject to be superimposed over a separately filmed background.
Right.
In television and video, this is called chroma keying or color separation overlay. And, you know, the CIA right here is saying...
And Glober said this wasn't around in 1969, even though we know it's well before that now.
Yeah, it says 1964, quote, among the equipment which drew attention, the new camera, Mirror, with mirror shutter, which is considerably lighter than the Mitchell by more than 20 kilograms, the line of cameras for wide format exposure, the series of camera lenses, light filters, combination photography by the traveling matte method with an infrared screen and camera TKS timekeeping system, which guarantees complete absence of outlines. Equipment for de-anamorphizing widescreen films with the possibility of panoramic, printers for printing 70mm wide format films, and their variants, universal sound editing table for assembling 35 and 70mm films, universal machine for application of magnetic stripes to 35 and 70mm film prints, very compact, universal machine for electro printing, stereophonic sound record, universal demagnetizing equipment, and others. So that is pretty wild, right? Like it's a chroma key with infrared screen and camera timekeeping system that allows you to overlay and create combination films with a separately filmed background. So then you get into all kinds of possibilities.
Yeah,
right?
then it's all open. I mean, that's you could do anything from that point.
What's confusing though is like,
and they're going to use different methods.
You talk to like Globers.
That's the thing. They're going to always use different methods too. They're not going to just stick to one thing, so you have to kind of watch it all.
Right. It's just weird because you see like green pop up a lot in the ISS, and it's like, why not use infrared, right? But the Globers will say this technology did not exist at the time, you stupid flurf. And then you'll show them this, and then they'll Google it, and they'll say the patent for this didn't even come out until the late 70s, and you're like, did you not see the document from 1964? Like, what are you? And then they'll say, well, yeah, but it was easily detectable back then. You were just denying it existed, then claiming that it didn't exist till the late 70s. And now you're acting like you're an expert on when it did exist in the 60s and that it was easily detectable, even though you've never seen it, right? And most people have never heard of like chroma key with infrared. That's crazy. I'd never heard of that.
And that'll be all one conversation too, won't it, Austin? That's not like over a month where they stepped aside and did research. It's all in one short go. Yeah.
That's crazy. So,
bless you,
to
man.
me, that's
You guys
fascinating.
and your patience. I don't know how
you might
you
have to be you might have to be a truther, I guess, to use some pattern recognition or whatever. But the fact they're so interested in this in the 60s and they classified it should be pretty telling.
Let me show you something else here, and just you guys tell me if I'm on the right page here, or I think we saw it easier last time. I'm going to show you some Apollo footage on the moon here, and you tell me if we're right here. You see that? Yeah. All right. So on this one, let's just start this. Hello. Is it press and play? Okay. All right. So let me get it bigger so we can see YouTube. So okay, yeah, you can see it better. All right. So we're looking at this. I'm going to lower it so it gets the full bottom of the video in. I want you to watch the backdrop with me, and you tell me if we can easily discern where the backdrop was, even in video footage, which would be really bad of them if they made it this obvious, but I think that it's clear. So we're watching these rocks go by, okay? And I want you to now start paying attention about right here's where it's easiest to see that we've got a clear difference between the foreground actually acting as things do, seeing things parallax, seeing things, this rock here, oh, you can't see it this way. This rock here will eventually end up behind this one, right? It's going to move this way as parallax would call for. See, now it's in behind it. That's how you would do it in real life. Now let's watch these rocks in the background. Notice these two are like this. So as we move past it, this rock should move in front of it. And if you watch, everything in the backdrop stays the same. Stays the same distance away. These two items, they're just the same away. It's
just like a painting would, right?
It's a painting. Right. See back here, these are not moving. They're not. So right here is the end of the real scene. And then the back is a backdrop. They're driving around. This is a big backdrop. It's a big sheet. And you can see this is the foreground's moving as things do, but the background is not. Look at these things back here. They're just going to stay the same away from each other, right? So like these two rocks here, watch them. There's no reason why they should stay the same. And yet they do. They just remain the same angle. In fact, everything does. See these back here? These right here? Now, if they're still moving in a room, you're still going to get a different angle to the sheet. Don't get me wrong, right? Like if you, for instance, if we're in this room, this angle here, if you're moving on the sheet, it will change like this. You're spinning, you're looking at the different, but these shouldn't get any different positions, and they don't. See this right here is like, this little rock's right at the edge of that big rock. It'll stay there. Middle one's going to be right at the edge of the big. Be right
yeah,
at the
and
edge
even
of
the
big.
ones way above the hill, above that, there should be big time parallax because it looks like there's a much more vast distance. Those, like the big rock.
Well, the further
center.
back, the less parallax, right?
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. These ones in the front here, those, the two you were just pointing at right
Like these
there
two?
on the ground, to the left.
These two.
Yeah, and then there's a big black one right up above it.
This one?
Yeah, those should definitely move
Oh, right.
a lot
With
compared to that one.
Compared to each other.
Yeah,
Yeah, and then
and there was no movement at all.
I don't know if anybody's ever seen this. Is pretty similar. Look at all the rain. Let me show you. This is the funniest scene ever. And they don't even mention it. There's no mention of this happening. Watch right here. This thing gets covered in a rain of rocks for some reason. Watch. In a second here, it's going to be. Oops, you can't see it. Sorry. This one I meant to do. There we go. Now you can watch it. All right, so watch. It's all kinds of rocks just fly out of the sky. Boom, rocks. And then it comes even more here in a second. There's like this. Here comes all kinds of rocks. It's raining rocks. Oh, here they'll come. Oh, no, it's a meteor shower. Oh, boy, look at all
Not
the
one
rocks.
mention of it
No,
at all.
nothing. They just keep riding like it's not the strangest thing in the world that you were just driving around for days, and then all of a sudden now rocks are coming out of the sky, and we don't have to even mention that. Crazy. But I mean, this to me
There's
is just a
something
dark
else.
scene. Go ahead.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
Oh, yeah, no, you good.
No, I wasn't going to say anything other than, to me, this is like the most obvious. You can see the line. I mean, this is the line of where a real, and I don't even think it's real. It's not they're really driving on something. It's that this is done through like an actual ground with rocks on it, and they're using like a little remote control car. You guys have seen that video that shows how they're up on a platform, and the guys are just voicing it, right? We don't hear the voices bouncing. Anyway, seems kind of obvious to me, but just trying to give people ideas so they can start searching and see that something's wrong with this backdrop. It looks like a painting.
Could that be the desert out there in New Mexico they blew up to look like the moon?
Could be. I mean, I think that this would be probably done indoors because that makes more sense with this backdrop. But
Yeah, it'd
it
be
could
a lot
also
easier to
be
control.
outside. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know where all these rocks are coming from. That's what is that? It's hilarious. It's just a meteor shower of all meteor showers, and they don't even care. Just getting rained on. But yeah, to me, it's just an obvious kind of backdrop. And, you know, like these ones, you would think you would see some parallax. Look at these ones. This rock's in front of this one. So you should be able to move past that. If we go around this rock should move backwards, and look, it's just staying. It's the same angle. This one should move behind it. We should go around the mountain, come around it, but nothing's moving. Oh, well, that one I saw. Nope, it's the same. I thought these two were moving, but they are just staying the same. It's just you would move a little bit if you're talking about on a painting and you're moving in there. It's not like you're not changing your angle to the painting. You are.
Mm-hmm.
But do we see any actual change of location of these items?
Yeah, the parallax, like you were saying.
Because that couldn't happen on a backdrop. And I don't see any. That was weird. What does that change right there? Do you notice that? So watch when the screen kind of goes flashy flash right here. Now the scene after it is completely different. Watch. Here it goes blink. See that?
Whoa, no more rocks or anything.
Hold on a second. I want to slow that down. It just looked like they changed it right. It goes this crazy like flash. Even the backdrop changes. Let me try it again. I'm just trying to see these mountains. See this little indentation here? There's like a hole here. I want to see if that stays there. Look like it changed. Oops, maybe I went too far back. Here it comes. Watch this little divot here. Oh, it just moved? Hard to tell. Hard to tell what they're doing there. All right, well, any other comments on that? I just thought, I think we're getting to the bottom of what NASA's doing, and I think the more that we kind of expose this and show some of the NASA fakery, the better we'll be as well.
Oh yeah.
What do you guys
'Cause
think
that's
about
what a lot of people get hung up on is NASA?
Yeah, what do you guys think about the moon? Would you say that you've changed your mind about whether or not the moon goes in front of the sun since watching eclipse footage? A lot of people have been telling me they have.
No, I don't know. My mind was that I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either. I guess and the person who said they filmed it is Astronomy Live, right? I think he's one of the people who says he got the features of the moon.
Yeah, I need some more information because if he's the one he showed, if his telescope was level when he took that picture, and like up on his thing is up how you normally would look at it, then that's a moon rising in the east, right as it's rising. That's not a moon directly overhead or to the west.
Oh, yeah, I have
at
to
all.
watch it.
I can tell
look at it
just by
closer, too.
looking at it where the little circle is. I've done videos on this, the wagon wheel effect of the moon.
Right. Oh, I wanted to show as well because it's something that came up this week, and I thought that I'd seen somewhere that Stephen Hawking at one time had a flat Earth belief or wrote a flat Earth paper or made a model or something. And then in looking through Zack's footage, I found a video about it. So Zack, tell me why you made that video those years ago, what you saw and why it's been scrubbed from the internet now.
Yeah, I was looking through, just researching Stephen Hawking. It was like 2016, maybe something like that, 2017, early on. And I came across a PBS article that said he had a flat Earth universe theory. And it showed a picture with a petri dish filled with water with little islands poking out of it. And it had a paragraph running down the left-hand side of it. And that was the whole article. It wasn't very big, but it said Stephen Hawking, when he graduated with a master's in physics, not astrophysics, but just physics, because he went to 2 separate universities, one for each. He had his flat Earth universe theory where it said that there was 2 plates or 2 flat surfaces, one that was cold above us and one hot beneath us, and we lived on the crust that formed in between. And then in the article went on to say, but we know he's wrong because both go over the curve, blah, 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 and a couple of the other basic ones. And yeah, and that was it. That was the only thing I ever found about it. But you try to look for his papers from his first university, like his final thesis papers and all that kind of stuff.
Which should be easy to get.
Yeah, you can't find any of them.
I remember Math Powerland said that they made him retarded because he said the Earth was flat, and that their punishment for that was taking him, making him seem like he's the smartest guy in the world, that he also said the Earth's a globe and everything about the globe, and punished him for saying that the Earth was flat. That's what Powerland used to say. So then I remember seeing something about he wrote a paper about it or something, and then now that you can't find anything about it on the internet other than Zack's video. That's all you can really find.
It's the only picture I can find of it left. It used to be on Bing, but yeah, I'd seen it, and then I went to go share it with somebody, and it was gone.
And it's in your video, right?
If you try pre-search, what would you look up? If it should be on the internet, what would you look up?
Let me actually pull up your video, Zack, because in Zack's video is the article. Or the little blurb.
It's just taken off of a TV because all I had was my phone, and I was not very savvy.
What's the name of the article? Like pre-search is normally pretty good. There's also a few databases that'll really search the internet. That someone showed me.
Let me see if I can find.
Including everything governmental.
You mean you want to know the article title from the screen that he shows in his video? Yeah, let me find it.
And can you not way back it?
I tried. I couldn't find any type of PBS article that was talking about that at all on the way back. But I'm not very good with it. I've only used it a couple times.
Let me go back and find this here. And how long ago would you say it was? 6 years? I'm at 6 years now. I don't remember the name of it. It's right in here somewhere. Do you remember what the thumbnail looks like? Flat Earth, time and... No, not that one. I'll find it. 1 second.
If you go to oldest, it's probably like the 7th or 8th video.
I see it. Where did Stephen Hawking's model go? Okay,
hello, everybody out there in YouTube land. Good times for all, or Zachary Zabala if you prefer. This is about Stephen Hawking's flat Earth model and where did it go. I am just wondering why I cannot find this on Google search engine anymore. There used to be a PBS article with that photo. The one with the petri dish looking water with the green coming up out of it right there. This is on Bing search engine, Stephen Hawking Flat Earth Theory. I typed in under the images page. It's got a bunch of different Stephen Hawking photos and jokes and things like that. But the one I'm really interested in is up here, right? Hold on, right here. This one right there. That is the photo I'm interested in. That was in a PBS article no more than 6 months ago. I showed it to at least 10 different people. And it was about Stephen Hawking's flat earth theory. I believe it was infinite plane theory, really. I don't think they used the term flat earth theory. It was infinite plane theory. And I mean, Stephen Hawking's flat earth theory is what I typed into Bing. And I'm on the image page. I didn't find anything under the Bing search engine about flat earth Stephen Hawking theory at all. There was nothing. I couldn't find any of this on Google.
Trying to see what it says below it.
But somebody had made a video about this, about me talking about it.
And what does that
that's
say?
my next video. He shows like the article, the actual what it looked like.
Click on the image and
yeah,
that's just
maybe
the
that's what I
image.
saw.
I mean, that's pretty regular for an
then
image.
you come back and you show us that somebody else, this one. Yeah, this is the one with the article.
Hello, everybody out there in YouTube land. Good times for all here. Zachary Zabala. You can't find this on
So this right here is from the web, right? You're
the
saying
internet anywhere now.
Yeah.
It's gone.
Yeah, that was on a video, a hit piece video some guy made of me.
He's not on Google.
Yeah, I remember the video. It was like stupidest guy in the world.
Yeah.
Well, I cannot find that. There's a PBS webpage right there. And it is not
Flat Earth
anywhere on
Universe,
Google
it says.
Flat Earth Universe?
Anymore.
At the top above that.
This was actually 4 months ago that he made this, so it was actually around
Yeah,
4
it's
months.
horrible. I'm trying to do it from a TV. I was so bad at this.
But
at
this
the
says,
beginning.
you know what this says up here?
Or above that picture, it says Flat Earth Universe. Yeah. If you go back a few frames.
Maybe try and search that, Austin, with whatever search you're talking about.
Yeah, right there. Yeah, that says Flat Earth Universe.
Oh, yeah, I can see it now. Flat Earth -universe. That's all I can see.
Flat Earth.
I would know, type Flat Earth Universe and Stephen Hawking and see.
Yeah, I should have taken a screenshot off my phone. I was so bad at this at the beginning.
Weird.
Sorry, getting crazy text right now. Dude, real fast. I found this. There's this other paper, bro. Can I share my screen really quick?
Yep.
All right. Share screen. All right. You can see it?
Yes.
Okay. CIA document released in 2000, right? Generalized curves of the Fresnel reflection coefficients for horizontal and vertical polarizations, right?
Okay.
All right. You're going to come down here. And I ran it through the converter so I could pick up the text, right?
Okay.
Here's what it says right here. The above solution was obtained for the plane problem. So they're talking about specifically even radio waves.
Okay.
Shot over the Earth and used in engineering calculations. And the plane problem is referring to how it only works on a plane and it operates as if it's going over a plane.
Right.
And they were able to solve for the calculations on the plane.
Right.
But it would be desirable to obtain a solution for a spherical Earth, particularly in the regions where geometrical optics approximation does not hold. This is the CIA talking about how the assumption that the Earth's a sphere doesn't work.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was pretty interesting. I mean, this is the CIA declassified document. It's actually from Russia, I believe, right?
And what
they're just talking about.
Yeah, and there's other things like that I've seen where they have to. This is why they use the flat Earth model, is because their spherical model has issues.
Yeah, I mean, the people can say stuff like, "Oh, with the plane, they have to assume it's a plane or whatever," right? But like, nah, this is them saying like, nah, the spherical Earth doesn't work.
Yeah, and this is radio waves. This isn't like, you throw in something or taking a short measurement. These things, they're measuring things that go out very far. So you would have to take the curvature of Earth into account for it, but they can't. It's not there.
And people might be asking, why are we calling the show It's a Mirage? And we haven't even got to that point yet. So there's some gravy on today's episode. Some gravy.
Apparently, what if do you guys agree it'd be way cooler if I went to Infowars in person?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, I like your idea about being friendly the first time and see if you can get a second appearance on it. Like if you can tweak his mind a little bit, I think he'll be open to it. And there's got to be something that you're going to say that he doesn't know about. I mean, these guys don't know that all observations show the Earth to be at the center. I mean, that alone is something that, how do you not teach children? How do you teach them in one sentence that it's a relative universe and that you can never say anything's going around anything, and then you go to the next day and you're like, oh, but we go around the sun. And we know that for a fact. And well, what? Is everything relative, or do we know we go around the sun? Because in a relativity world, you wouldn't even be able to say that. And these guys always try and point out differences. Well, there's this difference. No, then you don't understand the meaning of relativity.
Yeah, remember when Antonio asked Red?
That was one of the funnier videos of all time.
Is the sun moving?
Right, they can't even say that. They have to say in regards to who, or in reference to what. Because they can't say the sun's moving, even though clearly the sun is moving. It has to be moving through space. It's moving at 660,000 miles per hour. But they say, no, it's in relative to what? Relative to what? In and of itself, the sun does not move. In the solar system, the sun cannot move. Even though
he had the perfect answer, relative to any specific spot in space.
There's no such thing.
Not to us, not to, the center of the universe. No, just this spot in space.
Think of all these nonsensical claims too. Like if there was a Big Bang, then it came from somewhere, and they say that somewhere is everywhere. That it wasn't somewhere, because then that somewhere would be the center of the universe. But in their model, there is no such thing as the center of the universe. It
happened to everywhere.
Right. Every single planet, every single stars would all feel the same. They would all see the same thing. It's all the center.
Well, I guess he's been watching a lot of my stuff. I guess he said something to the effect of he's been watching my debates and stuff nonstop.
Right.
And so he has to have a general idea of what I say. But dude, you cannot just cram in a couple weeks of videos in your spare time.
No.
Nah, bro, it's not how it works, bro. This takes a while to learn a bunch of stuff. And I'll be honest, man. With one of my main arguments, there is literally no rebuttal. And I mean, with the motion argument, it's effortless, right? So I don't even know. I mean, this can only be a good thing, in my opinion.
Yeah, I don't think it could be anything else. I don't see how it goes bad. There's no such thing as a gotcha at this point. There's just not one. All right, I wanted to show a little something that I found with Mirages that maybe people can help out with. I think it explains a lot. So I'll show you guys that here in a second. I'm just getting something set up just because I want to be able to understand them a little bit clearer, and we'll walk through a couple of them. Let me put this over here, and you tell me what your guys' thoughts is on this. See if this makes, because again, I do believe sometimes in Occam's razor, right? The things should be easy to explain, not convoluted. So if we're talking about a mirage, and everybody can see that, yeah, we know that what's going on here, at least for what we know for a fact, right? What do they tell us? They tell us that there's light rays bending and all this stuff. Okay, let's just drop that for a second and think, what do we actually see happening? Well, we see that this, and what does mirage mean? Right, mirage means mirror. Okay, so that's what mirage means. That's where the word comes from. So let's see if we can figure out, well, right away we know this does look to be, it's mirroring, right? It's mirroring what? The sky. So we can cut out this part here, and we can say, is this mirroring the sky? So I'm going to copy that. Let's go paste it in the sky and see. Oops, here. Oops, that's not mirroring the sky. It would be a different color. Nowhere in the sky is there this color. So what is it mirroring? Oh, drop it down here. Now we know what it's mirroring. It's mirroring the mountains behind it. Correct? So that's what a mirage is a mirage. And if we were to write this down and we say, why is it happening here? Well, it's happening here because the asphalt is extremely hot and the air is cold. So let me just write a little thing here.
And it's hitting that certain angle. I mean, this happens all times a year, really.
Correct.
As soon as it hits that, this is where that diffraction comes into place, where that Rayleigh's criterion. Once it gets so close to that angle, it can no longer differentiate between the sky and the ground, so it makes everything look like the sky. But it doesn't do it on the side of the road over there because it's all bumpy and hilly and it's not perfectly flat like this road. And the next time you're on a highway going up over a hill, pay attention. The road will merge with the sky just like this just about every single time. Unless there's, you know, on a flat highway. It can't have a bunch of undulations on it. But this happens all the time.
Because the ground is usually hotter than the air, right?
Yeah, that too.
Right. Now, over here, it's
it
not
has to
happening.
do with that angle as well. That's what I'm saying. When you're going up over the hill, you're always going to hit that angle.
Okay, but if
where
it was
your
just the
eye is at
but if it was just
perfect.
the angle, you would see it in the grass. You would see it in the dirt. You would see it.
Well, no, because the grass is all undulated. It's up and down and it's hilly and it's not a perfect flat straight. It has to go on for a while.
True. Same thing with sand. We see it in the desert.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when the ground is hot, air is cold, we get a mirror, right? Which is what a mirage is. We get a mirror that, and where does the mirror appear? Above or below the horizon? We know this is the real horizon, and the mirror appears below. Okay. So when the air is, oops, you can't see that. Put it up here. When the ground is hot and the air is cold, we get a mirror that displays. Sorry, I lost my hat. That displays below the horizon. And it shows what? It shows what is behind the scene. And remember, we're just looking at like a 2D picture scene. And if we're saying, what is it mirroring? Well, it's mirroring what's right behind, so above the horizon, right? So, oops, let me just fix this. So we're saying, I spelled this wrong. Okay, so a mirror that displays below the horizon, oops, and it displays what is above it. So the mirror displays below the horizon what is above it. Okay. So now, if we wanted to, and if we, let's pretend that the whole entire road was we're just standing in a huge parking lot of asphalt. What we would actually see is this, right? What we would see is this. Okay. If it was just all asphalt, meaning there is no weeds, we would just get a huge mirage that looks like a pool of water going in both directions. And it's going to be a little bit lower like this. Okay. Now remember, where was the horizon line? Sorry, it's going to take a second. Get this over here. Okay. And we know that it kind of makes it look like the horizon's closer. It does all this. So remember, the horizon line was right about here-ish. Okay. So this was the horizon line, and we're now getting a mirroring and like this. Okay. So now we pretty much know what's going on here during a mirage. That's what's happening. It's mirroring what's behind it and displaying it lower than the horizon. So then I started thinking, okay, so what happens on the reverse? The reverse being, now I want to know when the ground is cold instead. So I'm just going to replace words in here. Now when the ground is cold, because everything would be reversed. If it's simple, it's just a reverse. When the ground is cold and the air, when the ground is cold and the air is warm, I'm just going to switch all these words to the other. Okay. Then we get a mirror that displays above the horizon, not below. Now it would be above, and it displays what is in front of it. That would be a reversal of everything. Okay. In front. Sorry, so it makes a little more sense. In front of. In front of. It. Whatever. In front of it. Okay. So now we'd have to think about, when is it ever that the ground is cold and the air is warm? Well, every time you look over the ocean. So let's flip this around as a circle. I mean, we're going to flip it upside down, and we're going to now pretend like we're looking at this part. Okay. Now, one thing we can notice right away is that if I didn't draw this white line, you wouldn't know where the horizon was. Okay. You would think it was up here. And if we think about it, if we're talking about now, this is ocean, well, you wouldn't have this picture of the sky here. You wouldn't have a picture of the mountains because it would just be water. So all of a sudden, you have water going all the way to the horizon line, and then you have a mirror happening again when the ground is cold and the air is warm, happening every day over the ocean. We get a mirror that displays above the horizon what is in front of it. which is what's in front of it. It's not what's behind it. Now it's just what's in front of it. So what is in front of that mirage zone? It's water. So you would every time you're at the ocean, you would see no horizon line. You would see a fake water appearing above the horizon line. And then you start thinking about, well, now if you're looking at the buildings in Chicago or whatever, they would be seen like this, hiding behind this. Right? If you saw the sun setting, okay, the sun would come down and you would see it start to get eclipsed by this. Then it would reflect in it, and you would get that view that we see of the sun kind of getting eaten inside of that horizon zone. So I started just trying to play with that and think, okay, what would that be? So I started thinking, well, and number one, by the way, people should recognize if this was the way the world worked, what we're looking at, because we're way closer to the ceiling, things would disappear first that were on the ceiling. Hopefully people realize that. Should we go without saying that this is not how we see the world because we're way far away from the sky and very close to the ground. So when you turn it upside down, it looks a little bit weird because you're like, well, now we're like way close to the roof and the ground. We would actually see things for a super far distance on the ground, but on this roof, it would very quickly come to an end because that's what the ground is going the other way. Anyway, so if we think about this now with all observations, it tells me that why we see the top of Canigou is, or the mountain that I saw this week, if it's just the top, it's because this is being hidden by a fake layer. And it's not even difficult to get there because it's just the opposite of a mirage. And this is something I've never really been seeing that. Let me go back here. Again, we just did a flip mirage. We just said, instead, when the ground is cold and the air is warm, we get a mirror that would display above the horizon and it would show us what's in front of itself. So I think people have said this before too. Let me show a picture of a boat real quick. Any questions so far, or am I see something I'm wrong about? Let's grab this one. This is just another picture of a mirage, and we can just say, does the same thing hold true? So we can say, where's the horizon? Well, it looks like it's about here, the real horizon, right? So the real horizon's there, and then we're just going to say, does my declaration still hold? Which is when there's a ground warmer than the air, then you get a mirror. The mirror happens below the horizon, and it displays what's above it. Okay? So that's what we see here. We're seeing this display what's above it. It's repeating it. It's a mirror. Okay, great. Now let's flip it upside down. This time I'm going to remove that yellow line. Or I'm sorry, that pink line. Okay, now I'm going to flip it. Okay, now if we look at it, we think, okay, so now where was the horizon line again? It was here-ish, somewhere, I think, here. So what's actually happening? Well, here, if everything's flipped, now we're getting a mirroring happen above the horizon. It's displaying what's in front of it. Now think of the ocean. Now when you go out and you look at the ocean, you've got waves in the ocean. You've got a real horizon line, but it is mirroring above it and displaying what's in front of it, which means you would get more ocean here that isn't real. Now, when all the waves are going by fast and they're kind of going by quickly, it's hard to tell that it's a mirror image. It's not like this where you can actually line it up and be like, oh, this is exactly like what's above it. So when we see boats, let me just finish that off. So when you see boats go out towards the deep, sometimes we see what looks like a boat kind of hidden by water. Well, it's because if you have an extra layer of water up here, remember the flat layer is here. The real horizon is here. So you kind of, if you picture like a flat horizon coming out this way, just kind of it's a weird drawing, but you kind of see what I'm saying, that there is a real surface of the water here. There's a fake surface of the water up high. So you have water behind this boat, water covering that boat. That boat would then start heading out on this water plane, right? It's heading off flat, but because of the way things get smaller, it's going to get smaller, and it might appear, again, it's hiding behind a mirage. It's not hiding behind the surface of water. So that's why it's kind of like choppy, and I would have to like flip some people's videos upside down to see if it really does hold true. But for me, at least, Now I'm like, well, wait a second. So there's two types of mirages. There's one where the ground is hot, the air is cold, causing a mirror image to happen at that critical angle, causing it to mirror what's above it. And then if we just flip the scene and say, okay, now let's think of when the water's cold, water's cold, air is hot, you're going to get the complete reversal, which means now you're going to get a mirror on the top that shows what's below it. And now I think if you go and look at someone like Wolfie's footage of his Bathurst lighthouse, when you see things covered, let's actually go look and just see if it holds true, because I don't know. Any questions so far? Or any comments or saying I'm wrong some way before I continue?
No,
I do not think you're wrong.
Isn't it with the waves out in off the coast of California there? Like, say you weren't looking at a shadow of a mountain, but you're looking at the sun setting. Aren't there huge waves out there that break for some reason on underwater mountains? I was watching these wave surfers. I think it's like 150 miles out off the coast of California. There's like 70-foot waves.
I've seen some. I mean, just like on the app that there is, that you can see what the wave height is everywhere. I've seen 80-foot waves come out of nowhere, but I don't know if that's just an anomaly or what.
Let me see if I can find this. No, but I'm liking it so far.
All right, let me find Wolfie's footage of his Bathurst lighthouse and just see if, because I'm thinking there now, if it holds true, then we would just be able to flip the image upside down, or the video, and from that determine that the water must have been cold, the air must have been warm, and we're just seeing a reverse mirage. It's just everybody is never used to seeing that. We're not used to seeing the mirrored image on top mirroring what's below it. That would be very weird to think about, but it could, I don't know, to me it seems like it would explain it. But let me find it real quick. Videos. Have you ever seen that only some channels have the search bar on their videos? Have you ever seen that or no? So I wonder, let me look at Witsit does. I don't know, guys. I've seen some that don't. And I've never understood why. Let me see. Right now I just saw Wolfie as a search Witsit. Where are you, Witsit? Here. I want to see if I go to your channel. You have a search too. I know I've seen somebody who doesn't. I don't know where that is, but yours has a search. All right, let me go back here. So Wolfie, we're just going to search Bathurst. And again, this would happen the lower you are to the ground, excuse me, the more you're going to have to look into something like that. But if you got higher up, it still doesn't erase it from being there. It would just be further out, right? Where it would happen. Because you still have the ground. It's not like getting higher up changes the ground being cold and the air being hot. Okay, let me see this here. Where is Bathurst Lighthouse? This one's good. Okay, I'm going to bring this over.
Yeah, they call it the Cortez Bank. It's about 100 miles off the coast of San Diego, and it creates huge waves. 77-foot wave.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
I'll have to check that out. I did not know that.
It's some underwater, like, mountain. They call it the Cortez Bank, I guess. And yeah, I guess huge waves break right out there.
I see RG the artist, and I know he sent 2 last week I missed, so thank you very much. 25 donation. He says, hey guys, hope you're all doing well. Thank you again for everything you guys do. It's truly a blessing to help people receive the truth. I want to, and thank you for last week's, but I'll show that here in a moment. Let me get to where he shows this. I think he's up high here, and then he goes down low, showing that this, what is it called? Lighthouse is going to get hidden. So let's watch this. So he's showing the lighthouse, and he's up high right now, probably 100 feet or something, showing the lighthouse way up on the hill, and then he's going to come down the hill to the beach level, and now he shows that the, see here if I can find it. Now you can tell right here that that's not all water. That what we're, this is, now you're starting to get what I'm saying. This is like a mirrored image of what's in front of it, causing there to be a whole layer that you can actually see it. This layer here is not real. It's not.
Yeah, you can tell by the shape of the water, the way it is like that.
Yeah, it's a mirage. Mm-hmm. So the funny thing is, it is a mirage. Let's get to the, let's see if it kind of matches up to what I'm thinking. So again, showing that, oops, here we go a little more. But where people would get confused, they'd say, well, Jeran, it's not mirroring the, what's behind it. No, you're getting confused. Remember, we're looking at a 2D picture plane. Now imagine that the flip is happening. So in the other mirage, the ground is mirroring what's behind it. So then in the inverse of that would be that the mirage is happening showing us above the horizon what's in front of it. Well, what's in front of it in this scene? The water. It's not, we're seeing the inverse. So it's not like we're looking through it and then we flip it and now we still see it affecting what's behind it. No, it would be miraging what's in front of. At least that's the way I look at it, because if it's behind it in the other one, don't we have to change all the words? If we're going to do an inverse, we can't still be talking about it mirroring what's behind it. It would be the inverse, which would mean it's actually, this layer is mirroring what's in front of it. Because now it's the mirage is happening above the horizon, meaning imagine now the horizon is down here, right? So imagine the horizon is now below where it should be, down here, and then it would flip. The same thing is true of like the floating boat, although that one's a little bit more in your face because you can see the boat and then it's eating below it, or it's mirroring below it. I'll show you that after this. Oh, I thought this is where he shows it. Is that just a little? Now I wasn't paying attention. I thought there's the one that shows way behind water.
I'm pretty sure there is. You were showing this the other day on your show, right?
Yeah, I thought
with the trees and everything, how you line the trees up.
Yeah, I wanted to show that it's where's the one where it's all behind water? Because that's the one I'm talking that would be possibly a. And I think that because I've always had questions about the buildings in Chicago. Let me just look up that real quick, see if there's any Chicago buildings.
I'm gonna get some of these shout outs here on
yeah, please.
YouTube's. We got Run Boston Bear. What a great episode. It's fantastic. So many are awake these days. Keep your peace and joy, y'all. The trolls will try to snatch it. We are allowed to research and ponder. Much love, brother. And then that flat fellow, Tommy, out there at Flatstock. He said, everyone at Flatstock says hi. GLOBEBUSTERS is playing over the PA system for everyone to hear. Thanks for all you do. Oh, much love.
Nice.
So, and then Carrie O'Keefe. I was in totality. Whatever covered the sun moved north to south. The sun and moon both move east to west. It wasn't the moon. And then Dawn DeSalt. I want to investigate Stephen Hawking flat earth theory. Amazing.
Please do.
Rasco Hearn. Have you guys seen video Eru loaded for Russian filmmaker debunking moon missions? He demonstrated that the lunar launch video was filmed using upside down model, and the rate of ascent is our gravity dropping the object. Interesting.
Wow.
And then Byron Pullen. Their feet are always pointing towards the screen, top of the pool, due to buoyancy. That's a good way to try to figure that out, Jeran. Like which way is up according to the astronauts, and see if all the bubbles do go that direction. Thank you all so much. Much love.
So just looking at some of these real quick, just so that it's clear. I mean, hopefully people can see that. Oops, can you guys see that? Sorry, hold on, let me go to the browser rather than.
Yeah, Chicago skyline from Michigan City.
Right. So I mean, what you're seeing here is clearly not miraged because there's no mirroring, right? It just looks like buildings. Okay, great. But what I'm saying is it is a mirage, but what's a mirage? What's below it?
Mm-hmm.
Because what would happen in that case, again, it would take the ground being extremely cold and the air being warm, which is the opposite of the other mirage we see. We would see the mirror happening up here above the horizon line, and it's mirroring what's in front of it. So my guess would be that the horizon line is actually here, and we're just getting a... Now, I wonder if you could find like any for sure evidence that it's doubling. You know what I'm saying? Like if it was exact, although I don't think that that's how it would work, because like in a mirage, it's not like it mirrors perfect that you would be able to pause it like this and say, oh, this is exactly where it's at. But also then I would start thinking, well, then wait, why aren't the buildings reflected here? Well, that's where I started thinking, no, it's wrong to think that way, because just like in this image here, let me go back to this one. Oops. Let me go back a little bit here. Let me go back. Flip this around.
Dan O with an incredibly generous donation that says, "Yeah, bless $175 to get us to the goal."
Wow. Thank you. Who was that from? Dan O?
Dan O.
Dan, you're the man.
Thank you so much, bro. That's crazy generous, man. You got us to the goal by yourself.
Much love.
So again, and
awesome.
maybe I'm wrong in thinking that it's just, this is the horizon line. We've made a note of it in white. So if I flip that image around, which is what an inverse of something is, you would then say, okay, flip this around. Now we'd have to think of everything the same, meaning that we wouldn't know this horizon line's there because it's white. I put the white there. So you would just you're getting a reflection of what's in front of it, going this way now, right? Not behind it, but in front of it. So it's confusing because you're seeing the mountain there, which is true. That's why I flipped it. You're getting a repeat of what's in front of. You're getting a repeat of what's in front of. Not you're getting a mirror of what's here. So in the ocean, if you're getting a mirror of what's here, then you're getting all ocean, causing the ocean to be higher than it really is. You wouldn't see that line. You would just see this. You would just see nothing but water until you get to this top part where it ends, at which point that would be your horizon. So I think that I don't even know how you would debunk that with me. You would have to explain to me why it's different to just say, oh, it's a mirage. It means it's just like gravity, right? What does gravitas mean? Weight. What is gravity? Simply weight. Gravity is weight. So it's the same thing. They just you're even using the same word. It's a mirage. It's a mirror. That's it. Now they want to talk about, light bending, and they want us to believe that somehow the buildings that are back here that aren't even in real life above the horizon, that somehow light is pulling these items up and displaying them up here, which doesn't make sense because when light moves or when we see mirages, we see flickering, we see nonsense, we see distortion. So there is no, go back to this. Is there any distortion there? Is there any distortion here? No. These are the buildings.
And I've seen that. I've taken this picture.
Right. Those are the buildings and behind Chicago. Yeah. Now, the question becomes, because for a globe, you're not supposed to see them at all. For a flat Earth, the question becomes, why don't you see the bottom?
The tippy top of 12 buildings you see. 812 feet should be cut off from 10 foot high at that distance. It's 38.8 miles. This is my observation point, Michigan City, Indiana, the lighthouse. I did a lot of research from here.
Thank you, Justin Johnson, for putting out a bunch of memberships. Appreciate that. Yeah, so then I started thinking, okay, so if this, again, if we just go back and think about this image, if there was a horizon, then what happens when the ground is cold and the air is hot is you get right above the horizon. Now you're going to get a mirror, and then you're going to get below it. It's going to mirror what's in front of it, not mirror what's behind it, but mirror what's in front. If it's completely switched, which is, I'm guessing, what would happen. So then I started looking at it and just saying, okay, well, now if I go look at all images of, like, for instance, what we saw in, because it's weird, because if you think about it, we always do see too far, but we see the tops of things. Think about it. Canigoo. Okay, we're seeing the mountain. Do we see the base? Not really. How can you, and I just pass it off with, well, it's so far, how would you ever see the base? And then you think about Chicago. Well, why don't we ever see the base? Well, think about the CN building from across New York. Why don't we see the base? So it's always weird. The globe calls for it not to be seen at all, but because there's a little bit of water covering it, they still have the excuse all the time of, why is there water covering it? Why is there water, Jeran, covering your mountain? Why is there water covering the buildings? Well, it's because it's not water. It's because you're actually seeing an inversion. It is a mirage. It's a mirage of the water displaying itself higher than the horizon. So now you get this water layer. So then it doesn't surprise me now, if you're looking across Lake Michigan, you're going to see buildings behind the water. It's not behind the water. It's behind the same thing. If we go back here, it's no different than this. This is where, like, if we wanted to say this was the horizon line, well, now look at it and kind of picture that this is the ocean, right? And everything would be flipped. You're not seeing a mirage below the horizon line. You would see it above it in the ocean. So I don't know. Again, it could be completely off, but it seems more easy to me than to explain if it's so simple to just say when the ground is warm and the air is cold, we get a mirror that displays below the horizon and it mirrors what's above it. So then if the opposite was true, well, then when the ground is cold and the air is warm, we would get a mirror that displays above the horizon and it would display what's in front of it, which is more water. So then you might ask, well, like these cars. Okay, so what's going on with these cars? So they're on the plane of the Earth here. So if we flipped it, then we'd say anything that's on the surface. Well, the problem with that is the surface would be of what? The surface of the sky? Well, now think, what have I seen before when we've seen birds? What does it look like the birds are doing? Well, the birds look like they are flying. And remember, they are technically on the surface, being the sky, So when we see birds fly, we see reflections of the bird here. Austin, you've showed this before on your channel. Remember, there's like birds flying, and it looks like they're flying into the water layer. Well,
out of the middle of the air. Yeah.
Right. Well,
I love when Wide Awake shows them dive bombing into nothing, and they disappear for a while when they get real close to the water.
Well, that's
and then they
because
just pop up.
they're dive bombing into this
the
layer.
Mirage. Yeah.
So you're getting a mirror image of what's in front of it because the inversion is happening. So then that explains to me almost every observation why Canigou looks to be covered by some. Let me look at Canigou. Bring that up real quick. So I think that this explains why everything's covered by what looks like water. Let me see if we go with this one. Canigou. Bring this in there. And I'm sure they could calculate that. So for instance, here, it's the same thing, right? You're getting this part, the water does go down to here. The mountain does go down to here. But the problem is you're right now seeing a mirage. The mirage is just, so remember, if the horizon line was like, let me actually take a picture so we can do this easier. Oops, not that. Hold on. Control minus. I just want to do this real quick. What happened to my, Apple minus, there we go. Or logo, whatever. This one, new. I just want to take this, grab it. And I'm not saying this is positive or anything. I'm just saying I was playing around with this last night and today and kind of like, wait, this seems to make more sense than this whole bending light thing that doesn't really make sense to me. Oh, I can show a video that I wanted you guys to see of Action Lab. Is that his name? Cody or whatever? He, actually, I don't know if I'm on the right channel. It's the one where he's showing why we see Fata Morganas, and I think it shows this even better. What? You can't save? What are you talking about? Save. That was weird. All right, so let me bring this up. Desktop. And downloads this one.
Yeah, that guy does some cool stuff over there on his channel, I gotta say.
Yeah, I agree. At least sometimes he's done like the fan and a vacuum. He's got a vacuum chamber, right?
Mm-hmm.
If we put what? Open with Real World Paint. All right. I want to show this. Okay, so now we're just looking at this image, and if you kind of picture, if the horizon was, I don't know what that was. If the horizon was here, let's just say originally, and the mountain was back here, so the mountain's actually going like this, and cut me down over here, whatever. So there's your full Canigou. Here's your, again, if the ground is cold and the air is hot, which would happen almost every time you look over the ocean, then what you get is a mirror zone appearing above the horizon, and it displays what's below it. So this just gets flipped, copy, and it gets put on top. And in that case, you no longer can find the horizon line. It's just a mirror of this up here, causing this to look like the horizon line. And so sometimes you do see like a boat, let's say a boat goes out and the boat starts riding into this area, which again, I showed last night. Let me show that again, just to show that now it makes sense to me when I see what I see boats do. Let me get this one. I remember I put it, I'm on the wrong account. I hate when I'm on the GLOBEBUSTERS account. I can't look at my history. I have to go find stuff the hard way. Let me find this way. So this one. I think this one. Nope. I'll find it. It's right here somewhere. This one. Is this boat floating there? Hold on. This one? Oh, no. I see it now. It's not this one, is it? Nope. One more. Hold on. I'll find it. It's this one. Sunset video in South Australia. Okay, here. So now this one here, bring it over. So watch this. This is a boat that they find eventually. Okay, going out here. Now, this boat is going to enter the Mirage zone. Okay? Now there, the boat is actually riding on the water, and this is miraging what's below it. See how this almost looks like it's different? Let me go a little bit further so we can see that there's two different types of water going on here. Oops. Thanks. So kind of like that. So to me, it seems like there is another layer here, and this is a mirage. It's showing what's below it, the water. Right? Everything is just going to be a mirror image of, it's just the opposite. So it's kind of hard for us to even imagine. Unless we flip this over, then it will make sense. That you might be thinking, well, why doesn't the mountain reflect? No. If we flip this around, then it would make sense. Let me go back to this and actually flip it around. So if we go here, flip this, go around. Where's the little... Oh, there it is. Okay, so flip this, and now think of what we're seeing. Let me back out of this, actually. So you don't see any of that stuff. There we go. Now flip it. Okay. Oops. Go around. Thank you. All right, so now we kind of picture, okay, so what was really happening? Well, now we're kind of lost. Like, where was the horizon? It was right here. But if it's displaying above the horizon what was in front of it, then it would stack this, because this is what's behind the horizon, and it would be displaying it what's in front of it, which is going to raise this up, because it's displaying it here. So I don't know. It's something to think about. I think they're probably easier to describe than we think. And I'll work on it some more, come out with a video about it. What's that? Oh, Kofi? And if we think about playing, sun going into the sunset, let me find that video real quick. If we think about that, it seems like it does dip into that weird layer. Let me go over here. Here. So remember, like, if this is... Wow, it does almost look like it there.
I think start to flare out now.
Well, I'm going to try and zoom in on this. I want to see it a little closer.
That's not a sunset.
Like, if I could ever figure out if that's a mirror image, man, I think it would explain a lot.
Look what's doing.
Well, like I was telling you earlier, like what's so interesting is when Flat Earth first became a thing and there was the Chicago skyline with the weatherman, right? At that time, when we looked over bodies of water, it was just everyone assumed that's what's going on. Like there's always this mirroring, miraging effect happening. Right. And that was the paradigm we viewed observations over water through. And now, of course, we have this whole brand new paradigm that they created a few years later about light bends around the curve of the Earth, and mirages are super rare,
Right. I mean, because this does look like we're getting a mirroring here of the sun, right? Now, the weird thing about that is it seems like it would be, again, so the cars that were on the surface, if this is an inversion, then now the item that's on the surface above, because it wouldn't stay the same. That's what I keep getting confused on, is we're inverting everything. If cold air does one thing on the ground, or I'm sorry, if warm air does something on the ground because it's next to cool air, then if there's an inversion of that, then we would have cold things on the ground causing a different sight for us, but it would be the opposite. So you would still get a mirroring, but where does the mirror happen? It happens above the horizon of what's in front of it. So if this is a mirroring of what's above the horizon in front of it, this one almost looks like it would be, because the cars mirrored, so this almost looks like it'd be the other way around. When you see this, it would be the other way around, that the ground is hot again and the air is cold. Because again, this actually looks like a lowered horizon. Anyway, which is what I think happens on those boats. When the boats float? Which is...
Yeah, that would depend on the day.
It's so stupid that they say that boats float. I mean, listen to this explanation and watch how dumb this is. And then we'll look at my explanation of it. But watch this. It's just the dumbest video I've ever seen.
An amazing physics effect.
And I'll show you why.
It's a magical flying boat.
It's already...
So is Guillermo a trickster? Or is science behind this bafflingly buoyant boat?
While at the beach, Guillermo has managed to capture on his camera an optical illusion known as Fata Morgana.
The Fata Morgana. I want you to listen to how dumb this explanation is, and the fact that Globers go around and repeat it. Just think of what they're saying, because it makes no sense. Because you need to think about what's going on with the water then. Think.
Morgana is seen when there is what's known as an inversion layer in the atmosphere. Typically, the temperature of the air gets cooler as you go from the ground upwards. But when there's an inversion layer, the air near the ground is coolest and there's warm air above it.
During the day, the sun...
Which again, what he just said would always be true. The ocean is always cold. So the air above it is always going to be colder than the air above that. I mean, if it's a day, how can it not be? Right? If it's 80 degrees outside, well, duh, the air right above the water is going to be colder than going to be colder than the air above it. But anyway, let's keep going.
Heats the atmosphere. But over the ocean, the part of the atmosphere that's closest to the surface is actually cooler because of its contact to water. And cooler air is actually more dense. And so what this means is we get layers of atmosphere at different density.
The Fata Morgana illusion is very uncommon.
Wait a minute. Doesn't that happen on land as well? It's called gas pressure density gradient.
Yeah, the explanation is so retarded, and it's the scientific explanation for this. Why? Because they have to hide you the truth.
Mixes
Why?
all these layers around. In this day, the wind was quite still, so the layers were well defined. When light hits the boat, it
When light hits the boat,
gets reflected and travels through these layers
Mhm.
all the way back to Guillermo's eye.
what about the water that the boat's in, bitch? What about the water that the boat's in?
Light travels faster
Okay, so the light from the water.
in less dense areas and a
Mhm.
lot slower in colder, more dense areas.
Right.
So the path that the light follows gets bent.
Guillermo is watching the ship from the land.
Right.
And because the light path has been bent and he's accustomed to light traveling in straight lines,
Sure.
it appears that the ship is in the air and not sitting on the surface of the ocean.
What about the surface of the ocean?
That's just retarded.
Why wouldn't
Yeah.
light act the same way?
Just the boat, not the water beneath the boat.
It doesn't
Just
make any
the boat.
sense. Just the boat is the light is traveling through these layers, but not the ocean water. No, if it was, what they're saying would mean that you would see the ocean up higher as well. How could
Am I
our
crazy, or is the horizon line higher than the boat behind it?
It is.
You can like faintly see it.
Absolutely.
Back there.
That's the
Yeah.
answer. So again, why is the horizon line back here? Because it's mirroring and doubling what's in front of it.
Can I
Now-
chime in?
Yes.
So, the temperatures will cause all sorts of weird mirages, but a mirage is a mirage. That boat is not a mirage. When you're looking,
No shit.
like if you had a piece of smooth wood and you're looking straight at the surface, it's not reflective at all. But if you start bringing that up closer and closer to where you're skimming along, it'll turn into a mirror at a point. And what you'll mirror is whatever's above it, not in front of it. So when we're looking out on the water, it gets to the point where the angle of our eyes to the surface of that water is so sharp, like looking across a piece of wood, that it's reflecting the sky. And that's how you see that's how that fake mirage. So
Hold on, not reflecting the sky. Don't say it wrong. It's not reflecting the sky. It's what's behind it.
No, I disagree.
Well, then I
But
just
if
proved
you're
it. I
right,
showed
maybe
you.
I'm wrong.
Well, I
But-
showed you already. It showed you that if you take any image like this, you're getting. I just showed you that this here. Take the color of the mirage, and you might say, "Oh, that's the sky, Jeran." Your eyes are playing tricks on you because if we grab it and we say, "What does this match?" You can move this up to the sky, and it's way darker. It's not even close to the sky. There's no part of the sky.
It's
Hold
well,
on.
because
But
how
why
do
is it
you
if I
expect
put
it
it
to
right
be
here
the
at the
same
mountain?
color?
It's identical. It is the mountain. It's what's behind it. There's no arguing that. So it's.
I would say that the sky reflecting off of a dark, dirty road might not be the same color as the sky in the sky.
But this is.
No, I think it's the closest thing to the horizon. So
Correct.
in this case, it would be the mountain. But over water with no mountain, it would be the sky. It's reflecting.
But Jeran, if you look at those trucks, the trucks are being reflected onto it.
They're
and the
mirrored.
trucks are beyond where that reflection is.
No, this is where this. So if you were to say, where's the truck hitting the road? It's hitting right. Oops. Sorry, let me make this smaller. So where's the truck hitting the road? It's right here, right? So that's where the truck. Let me move it up a little bit. That's where the truck hits the road, and then you get a reflection. Correct. So the truck is hitting the road.
You're getting
here.
reflection of your eyes are skimming off the smooth road because you're looking at it at such an angle, and it's seeing everything that's following that.
You're telling me
that
this is
line.
an
If
angle?
I threw a ball, it would bounce, and that's the line that you're seeing.
Those stripes you see at the bottom, those are bumps in the road right there. That's a
Those
break
are
of the
just parts
flatness.
that are not reflecting, right? That you
Right.
don't have a cute of an angle on that part of the road.
So wait, I'm confused. You're saying that this only happens when you have a sharp angle. That's
a shallow angle.
Right. Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah, a shallow angle, and then the way to like in
But
the
mostly,
water.
would you say it happens on a day where it's not hot outside?
You know, I don't think it really has a lot to do with temperature. I think it just has to do with the conditions of the water.
Hold on, but then why isn't it doing it here?
Well, no, it can.
Why isn't it doing
Well,
it where?
Here, where my white lines are being drawn.
Because it's not
that-
smooth.
that's
It's
not a smooth surface.
Okay, I think it probably
So
has
the
more to do
angle
with
breaks up with your eye.
regardless,
I have
whether
a
it's-
video on this with a real bumpy road where you see a bunch of these mirages in between the bumps in the road.
Okay, so
so
I would
it's flat
change-
and then a bump.
So change what I'm saying instead to then when there's a steep angle, rather than when we say it's because this is a hot road, then you're just going to say it's when it's a steep angle. We get that?
But hang on, a hot road also is producing steam, and then you have that layer of humidity, and
that
that's
makes
all,
the fraction just more.
that's
Every
just
time you
causing
add
more issues.
Yeah.
But but the reflection you're seeing is the sky, and I've seen it where there's cumulus clouds in the sky, and you can see them in the road.
Well, okay, but hold on. Remember, this is all the sky. You can't think of it as like a real world, because really what we're seeing is a 2D plane. And that's all that's happening is our eyes see in a 2D plane due to perspective.
Yeah, I agree. It's the mountain behind there, Jeran.
Right.
Well,
hold on. But let me say, if there's no mountain there, then it would be reflecting the sky.
Okay. No, but it could be the mountain at the angle you're seeing it, because but I thought you were saying it's reflecting what's in front of it.
It does I'm talking about the inversion of that. Now this happens because there's hot air or the hot ground and cold air. You get this kind of changeover. I'm just saying now if we flip it and say we're in the ocean, well, then we would have cold ocean. You would have cold ocean and hot air above it. At which point you have the inversion of that. You have the opposite. It's just a mirror image, but now the mirror image appears here. And what does the mirror image do? It mirrors what's down here, which causes the ocean. Now, if you had a horizon, if you had a horizon line here, then what we're seeing is displayed here is more ocean. I'm just saying if it was true that a mirage is just the opposite.
It works that way even without the temperatures, because diffraction, like what we're talking about, that acute angle,
right,
is from above and below. So it's not just below from what we're seeing up to our eye line of sight. It's from above down too. So it's going to be diffracted just as much above your eye line as it is below.
Okay, but what I'm saying is, like, if this is the horizon line known, right? If we know that where the horizon line is, nothing.
You're off screen, by the way.
Oops, sorry. Get down here where I can see. Okay, so here, if we're looking, get a little more in the middle. Okay, there. So what I'm saying is, if we're looking here at this horizon spot here, this isn't mirroring this, right? Clearly, this is mirroring this
because it's not smooth.
Yeah.
It's because it's not smooth. The way I look at it, what you're seeing in the mirrored spot is you took a rubber bullet and a rifle and you shot it down the road.
This
when
part
it hit
here.
the road and it skims, that's what you're seeing. Follow that bullet, and that's what you're going to see at that spot in the road.
Yeah. So you mean this is mirroring
this? So yes, it could be the mountain or the sky, but it's not before the white line. You're not reflecting back. I heard that wrong.
Right.
That's what's going on there. And then we're mixing up two things:
okay.
The reflection off of a acute angle to the smooth water and mirages. Two different things. Like a temperature heat inversion mirage is an additional thing.
Okay, well, what we're looking at right now is a mirage.
You're looking at you can call it a mirage, but it's a reflection off of the water, just like I can make my
hold on, but not off the water. But we're talking about this
ceiling.
Hold on, but to talk about this scene that we're looking at, because there's no water here.
Yeah.
So you stop saying there's a reflection off the water. Explain it to me again.
So because the road is becoming, the angle of my eye line to the road is becoming so acute, if that's the right word, it's skimming off of it, and I'm seeing a reflection of whatever's in front of it. Not this side going away. Like if I threw a ball or shot a bullet and it skimmed off the road, that's what it's reflecting.
Have you ever seen a mirage when it's not in acute angle? Because I have. Like they'll be right here. Let me show you this.
Yeah, that'll be what you're talking about, Jeran. Where you get the crazy image. Yeah, that's a mirage.
Well, it's not a crazy image. It's just not an acute angle. You're making it sound like a mirage only happens when we have a crazy angle.
But the
look at this one here. Let me show you this. So this here,
the side. Go ahead.
What's going on here?
Yeah.
This is like a downhill slope. Then it starts going up. That's not an acute angle.
Well, yes, it's an acute angle to your eye line.
Yeah.
Look at this one.
And that little spot.
You're saying this road is an acute angle? It's just it's not that bad of an angle.
It's getting there. It's
it's getting there. But isn't it more likely that the reason we see this is because when there's such a difference between a hot road and the air above it that it starts mirroring what's behind it?
That also factors into it. Yes, when it's hotter, you don't need as acute of an angle. But I've seen mirages like that in the dead of winter. But in the summer, you'll see them with a less acute angle, with a slightly deeper angle. You'll still see it because of the heat coming off the road.
Right. And because in the winter, if you saw it, wouldn't be when it's freezing cold. You wouldn't see it when it's snowing because then the ground is colder than the air. But you would see it in every case because there's always going to be warmer air above colder. I'm sorry. There's always going to be colder air above a warmer ground. Usually. When it would not be the case. Right. But
when the ground is warm and the air is colder.
when the ground is warm, and that would happen all the time.
Wait, you said the air is warmer than the ground? No.
Sorry, I meant the ground is warm. It's asphalt, and the air above it is colder. So what happens? You get a mirror, a mirage, a mirror image of what's behind it. But it displays above the horizon. I'm sorry, below the horizon on this one. So I'm just saying, if the inverse was true, if instead you had a cold ground with warmer air on top of it, if everything,
we're saying the same thing.
Yeah, I'm just saying, if everything flipped, then all of a sudden it explains. Like, for instance, here, if we flip this around, you would realize that we'd lose our ability to see where the horizon line was. And we would get confused and think this was the horizon line. Well, what was really happening there is then it makes sense why things are hidden behind water in images, because you are thinking that the water that you see here is real. It's not. We're just not used to understanding that mirages work the opposite way too. That would mean that you would see this reflected above the horizon, which would mean you would see water affected above the horizon becoming water. Then you would have this huge. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No,
I was going to say, in the 1600s, they finally figured out a way to navigate it at sea accurately, because they were trying to use the horizon a lot before that. And it's an apparent position. It's not an actual place you can measure.
And over water, you would never be able to see that, especially if there's nothing behind it. You're going to be in big trouble, because the line
They're
of the horizon.
in the middle of the ocean.
Right.
So,
imagine we're right here and we clip out the grass, because in the ocean, it's all cold water. It's all cold surface. Well, now all of a sudden you lose the horizon, and you would think, if we flip this image upside down, that this is the horizon. And then there would be boats going beyond it, buildings beyond it, mountains beyond it, that would look like they're being covered by water. They're just covered by a mirage. That's if it's an exact inversion, which to me, I don't know if that's true. I'm just saying, if this is what happens, hot ground, cold air, then wouldn't the inverse happen when it's cold ground, hot air, which would be every case over the ocean? Does that make sense, Dave? Is that more clear? Or what, I don't know what you had thought.
I got it. It just, I think just the explanation on what's called, I don't think it's always just the heat, because there's times where the air is warmer and colder than the water, and we still see it, based on the smoothness of the water.
The air is colder than the water?
Yeah, there's times in the morning the air is colder than the water in the summer.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, that would cause a regular one, right?
It's still there. The mirroring is still there.
Right. I guess I'm thinking of like Skunk Bay, right? Skunk Bay, throughout the day, you can kind of see it move that line. And the reason why is because it's lost.
All sorts of, there's multiple things happening. It's not just a mirage due to heat. It's not just a mirage due to smoothness and the angle. All different things happen, and they all combine together. That's why there's really not one solid answer for the whole thing.
Well, there is one solid answer, and that's never has there ever been that because of a mirage, it's mirroring stuff that doesn't exist, which is what the globe belief is, that it's mirroring things from behind the curve. That's why they say, which makes no sense. That doesn't happen.
Yeah, why don't we see cars coming up over that,
Right.
like a car floating up in the sky above the...
Right, but going back to that stupid-ass explanation, that guy was, they're saying that because of the way air bends, right?
I know.
That this boat is being lifted up and displayed. Well, then why wouldn't the water that's back there that the boat is on also follow the same law? They're showing it like this is, and you can just see the mirage back there. You can see what's happening back there. Look at this. They're making it sound the light from the boat travels in through these different layers. Well, so would the light from the water. And then the water would, how could just the boat, how did your eyes just pick out the boat and lift it up? It's so dumb. It's just so dumb. It can't possibly be the case. Again,
Atmosphere at different density.
The Fata Morgana illusion is very uncommon because usually the wind mixes all these layers around. In this day,
I mean, they're making it sound like this would just be, if it wasn't a perfect density gradient, then wouldn't we see the boat all over the place? It'd be in different pieces. It'd be up in here. It'd be half the boat would be down here. Half the boat would be over here. Well, that's not what happened. It has nothing to do with layers being still. It just has to do with this is basically reflecting above it. So where's the horizon line? The horizon line's here, right? So we know where Dave, would you say you know where the horizon line is on this picture?
It's about where you were just pointing.
Let me get this and show it. So watch, this might make more sense. So if we grab this and we do a screenshot of this, and we're going to draw it and flip it and watch. So if we draw this new...
Flipping it flips me out.
It does trip me out too, but let's watch. So if we take this grab this picture. Okay, save. Somebody else coming in? Oh, I thought Yuri was going to be here. He did message me and says, "Are we on today?" I said yes.
He said he was still at the theater. He's working, making a frontal projection.
Really? He's making it?
Yeah.
How crazy is that? We're just talking about that today, and now he's doing it.
I told him he looked too serious, though. He needs to have more fun. He's got a serious face on in the picture.
I don't want to see serious face guy. All right, so this one here. Let me open this. Open with Real World Paint. Okay, so let's draw on here where the horizon. Oops, sorry. Let's draw on here where the horizon is. So that would be, Dave. You think it's like right about here, right? Maybe in this area.
Yeah, that's about it.
Okay, so we're just going to draw a pretend horizon here. Okay, there. And just flip it and we'll kind of get an idea. So this and this. Okay, now if we flip this whole image and pretend that we don't know where the horizon is, because at first we're going to recognize it, but then we don't. Okay, so now flip this around and you would start to see where, okay, the opposite is true. So what is being mirrored? When it's an inversion layer, what's above the horizon is now the mirrored image, and it's showing you, sorry, so this is where the horizon line is. The mirrored image is showing you what's in front of it. Right? So it would actually go lower. And it pushes this up. I guess I'm getting confused by flipping it myself, because now, okay, so if you're here, now it makes more sense, because this is just a mirrored image of what's above it. Wouldn't that be the opposite of what we see? Right? When we usually see the ocean higher, now we're seeing it lower. So I don't know what would cause this. I'm trying to think of what would be it can't be cold air.
No, what that is.
Wait, is this real though? Has anybody seen other than that one video? Like I only see pictures of that. Have you ever seen a video of it? I just want to search if there's a video.
I've actually seen it.
Oh, you've seen it? Okay.
I've seen it, except behind.
But is it more obvious that the water's there than here?
No.
Even with your eyes?
No, well, to me, it's obvious that the water's there because I've seen that all the time. I see that all the time, but unfortunately
I've just never seen it
beyond that blue line, there's land, and then it, if I block the land out, it looks exactly like what you're seeing there. That's just because
but this
we
wouldn't
can't
happen.
see the surface of the water anymore, and the air is kind of thick that day.
But this would never happen with a backdrop.
No, it doesn't happen with a backdrop. Absolutely, if you have to be at sea, it can have land beyond it. But it also doesn't happen on days where there's cumulus clouds that only happens on a nondescript uniform sky day.
So why wouldn't it happen when there's mountains back here?
Because you would see it, and then your brain would tell you, "Oh, that's just smooth water. That's just a reflection of the water," and you could see the actual horizon. That's why. But when you don't, your brain, says, "Oh, that the horizon's that line on the bottom there below the ship, and the ship's floating," because that's what Neil said.
Yeah, it just seems like if it's the opposite, then if normally we get a mirror here of what's above, now we're getting a mirror here of what's below. So we're seeing this is just a copy of this. It's just like an inversion, right? It's just inverted. Now, why the boat is just because the boat has a better angle. You don't lose it, right? You guys say it. This is a sharp angle here, and the boat is standing up.
But
so it's not as hard of an angle.
If it was really a mirage, you would see the boat upside down at an equal distance above the horizon than it is below it. But it's only reflecting. The boat doesn't reflect because we have straight on angles to the boat. It's only the water that's reflective.
Correct. Right. Like you might ask, why isn't this boat upside down? When that happens, that's when you get the inversion, right? When you have a boat like this, which we see, it's called a Fata Morgana. Right. You've seen pictures of the buildings in Chicago where they are stretched and reversed.
Yeah, that's a mirage. That's a Fata Morgana or whatever you want to call it.
Right. Mirage, Chicago. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Okay, so you can tell the difference
but then
clearly.
The Globers take that and say everything is a mirage.
Like this.
Yeah.
Right. And that you can clearly see that it's flipped. But this here is another example of this then looks like the horizon line.
Where are we looking?
Oh, sorry. I don't know if you can see me. Off to the right. This one here. So what I'm saying is this isn't the horizon line. And you can actually see that this entire thing is just a copy of what was pictorially behind it a second ago. Same thing here. So now I think that this is a case where this is all still water. It's just the opposite. It's when the ground is cold and the air. Sorry, when the ground is cold and the air is hot. Because it just seems simple to me. It's just a reverse mirage. And in fact, they call one an inferior and one a superior, right? That's what they call them. But they don't ever say that what is actually happening is in the reverse. Wouldn't it create a higher water line if it's copying what's in front of it? Wouldn't it create a water line that rises up? Because I mean,
yeah, it probably kind of bleeds into the sky, I would say.
So if I asked you, Dave, what would be the reason why we don't see the bottoms of the buildings in Chicago?
It's because we're having that mirror line way before it, and it's reflecting the sky, creating a ramp of sky in front of it. So it's going behind that ramp. That ramp is at a shallow angle, but the buildings are getting smaller and smaller into the distance. So a 1-foot ramp could hide half a city skyline.
Right. So if you're looking at this picture, imagine what I'm saying is this line that you can kind of see right here is the horizon line, meaning that the buildings go down to there. But what we're seeing is a reflection above the horizon line of what's in front of it. You're seeing a reflection of water above the horizon and then buildings hiding behind it. Because that's what happens when it's cold water, hot air, which would be all times looking over water. Anyway, it's not like you're seeing, this isn't miraged, right? These buildings, because the mirage is down here. Just like if you talked about back over in this picture add up, where's the one of the, here. So think of the opposite. The opposite is saying that this isn't miraging, the below is, correct. Because in this video, just flip it. I just said this isn't miraging, this is, now flip it. This isn't miraging, this is. This is the mirage showing me what's in front of it. Because it wouldn't show what's behind it, that's what happens in the inverse. Like, I think we get confused because we're thinking that we're in a privileged position. I'm seeing it reflect what's behind it. Okay, well, what if when it's flipped, it reflects what's in front of it? Water would reflect water and show a
and
double.
It brings it up.
And you can actually see here that this is like, you can see the difference. It's
yeah,
like
that
this
whole white band there at the top.
Yeah,
is definitely part of that. What you're talking about.
I think so.
And probably that other band even beneath it, that lighter shade of blue beneath it.
So if you drew a line between the bottom of the picture and halfway in the blue area,
Like
between
here?
the white line and the bottom line, right? So if you drew a line just dividing that blue stripe, you with me?
like here or low. I don't know
right
what you
there.
mean. Okay.
So the distance from the bottom to that blue line, let's say that's 5 miles, whatever, X miles, right?
Right.
Then the distance to that white, they would get smaller and smaller. So that white line, the thickness of that white line
Okay.
could be 10 times the thickness of the blue stripe.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And you could hide everything behind that.
But let's say we take.
I got to look into it about the.
Yeah,
about
think
the
about it,
water.
'cause if
You
we
think
take-
the mirage, the horizon's much closer than I think it is, but I have to look into it. I'll consider it.
Well, I think at times, and I think if we looked at videos that show like boats, whenever you look at it for a boat going over the curve, you never can find it. It's never what you think it's going to be. It's always like a weird, like it kind of looks like. Remember the one I showed last? Let me show this one real quick. There's two boats that go. I need you to tell me if this is what I'm talking about. So these two boats that go on the cruise ships. I have it right here. I know I saved it under this one. You tell me if this is what I'm. So this is two boats. Fata Morgana. Nope, not that one. Is this boat floating middle rack? Where's the two boats? Phillip Island, Southern Astronaut. Okay, zooming in on lighthouses in the ship. Maybe this one. Nope, that's not it. I showed it last night. Let me find it. The one that shows the two boat. This one, Horizon ships. Okay. Let me show you.
We're not seeing your screen.
Yeah, I'm gonna pull it up. You see that boat?
Yep.
Okay, so these boats that they say, this is their best example of boats supposedly going over the curve. But you can see what happens is they get condensed. This is just going to get condensed. All these floors are going to get condensed. But it does kind of appear like here. Let me show you. You start saying, okay, well, wait, is it getting condensed so much? Or is it actually, well, if this is miraging, meaning that this is mirroring what's in front of it, then really the surface of the ocean is here. Now, here comes this boat. Well, it's also on the surface of the ocean, meaning the surface of the ocean is here. And this boat is just going to come in. It's staying at the surface of the ocean. staying at the surface of the ocean, staying at the surface of the ocean. So all that we're seeing is what they call a hump is simply a mirage. It's funny because I start every show I do with it's not a mirage, but it is a mirage. The mirage is causing us to see what we think is the horizon, but it's not. Again, that boat that just went by. Let me see this boat. I didn't see that boat go by. Okay, so this boat, you're like, well, where's the boat? Well, it's on the surface. All these boats are on the surface of the water, but there is this weird area here. It's very small. I'm guessing the further you went, I'm thinking they can calculate it. And all it is it's just again, it's hard for us to imagine because we're used to the other kind of mirage. So imagine instead the mirroring happens below the horizon. And it takes, I'm sorry, that's a regular mirage, right? We just saw the road happens below. In the inversion, the mirroring happens above the horizon, mirroring what's in front of it, which would mean you would get a weird stripe of water that doesn't exist. It's the same thing as the mirror on these pictures. We see them and we don't really realize it, but we're like, if we really think about it, okay, that looks like here. This looks like you wouldn't be able to determine what was going on. Now we see the cars and this and that, but can you imagine seeing this and thinking, oh, the earth falls off at that point, right? Like this would become your horizon. And then again, you'd have to picture us going and saying, if the whole thing was concrete or cement or asphalt, then you would get something like this. Hold on, let me grab this. So if the whole thing, come on, give me that. Okay, so if the whole thing was like this, rather. So picture like this is a big parking lot. I don't know, Christmas vacation, right? There at the Griswolds are at the empty parking lot. You would see something like this. And if the mountains weren't there because they're not in the ocean, there we go. Okay, so, and then if let's say these boats, or these aren't boats, these would be on the ceiling now, so we can't count those. Let's just erase those. Because think of it, nothing's on the sky. And if we're going to flip it, then you would flip this. And you would get this. And I didn't finish it off with there. But then again, you have to realize there's no mountains. There would be nothing here because this would become water. So then you would just see the ocean with the sky, but you wouldn't realize that this part of the ocean doesn't exist.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Man, I don't really know if there's a way to argue against that because as long as, well, and again, here's the way you argue against it. Is that what happens during when the ground, now I think I could test this. If I take my camera out and I take like a board, like I've got long boards, well, I want to freeze them. If I take a short board, it might not be enough space, but if I make the board really cold and then take pictures through it, rather than when the board is really heated up with like a heat gun, what is the difference of those effects? If it is that it's just a complete opposite, then what we're seeing at the ocean is always a band of water, which is really just a copy of what's in front of it, right in front of it, right? So that's just a copy of this, which is where the horizon is. That would be the horizon. So then that's why when you see buildings, the buildings would be like here, right? You wouldn't see them down to the horizon because there's a mirage there. There's a mirrored image of what's in front of it. So that's all.
This happens all the time.
Hey, I got to jump, but I'm still listening. Thanks.
Later, Dave.
Could be wrong. I'm just saying I think it makes a lot of sense.
No, you're right. This happens all the time, and with temperature variances like that, it only gets greater.
Right, which would be all the time, right? Like on the ocean, I mean,
all the time.
When would the air ever be much? I mean, again, on a winter day.
Very rarely are they the same. Like in Chicago, right there, a lot of people will go and take their pictures in like March, and not when it's setting behind it, because you don't get all that distortion, because the water temperature is about the same temperature as the air. They're right around 30-something degrees, 32, 35, somewhere right around there.
This is the one that doesn't seem to match my theory. Everything else does. I can explain it in both cases, but this is the one that's hard because this actually looks like we are getting a lowering of the horizon line. I'm saying that the horizon line is higher. So I don't really understand this one. I'm trying to think of what would be the possible conditions that would cause this. Their explanation is stupid. They're basically saying my eye can take the boat and lift it and make it do something different than the light that's coming from the water here. That's not true. There'd be no way. How would you differentiate that? It's just a picture that your eyes are looking at. So I don't know. It's a crazy thing to think about. Anything else that you guys wanted to bring up, or? He says wind ripple, dude. Wind ripple. Yeah, this is the one I need to think about more because it's It just could be as easy.
Yeah, I
too,
would
as
start with Rayleigh's
fog.
criterion. Start
Okay.
researching there.
Right. Well, that's like the diffraction limit, right? That's when you get to those two images that kind of merge together, like in your video.
Well, yeah, but you got to think that does that with every light source. It's not just, vibrant light sources. That's happening with, the air right there above the water and
everything
and the air next to it. Everything does that.
Right. But that happens because usually
creates that band straight across the horizon.
Because the ground is
Oh.
usually warmer than the air.
Well, no, because it has to do with the circular lens that you're looking through.
Oh, so it's a lens
and where the two converge. It just creates we are about perfect 20/20 vision. It's like 0.02 degrees.
And you don't think it would
once
change
we get
with-
that low, everything just merges together.
Right. And you don't think it would be a difference if we got that low when the ground is cold or if the ground is hot?
It might change which one is affected more, above or below your line of sight.
Right. Okay. That's
You
kind
know
of
what I'm saying?
Yeah,
But it always happens on both. And then atmosphere and
But hold on,
dust
but when you
crap
say
like that.
But when you say it happens on both, what I'm confused about is that okay, well clearly this is not a mirror. It's not mirroring the ground below it, or else we would see the grass or the asphalt here. We see the mirroring happens below our horizon line, and it copies what's above.
Well, yeah, that's because there's the backdrop of the mountains. So it's not just sky you're looking at. Say if you were looking out over water like that and there was no mountain in the background,
right?
Then it would that line would mirror that part. But right here, it's kind of like
Let me see if
we're
I can
seeing a
explain that.
horizon line and then we're seeing a backdrop far off in the distance.
Okay, so in my opinion,
So
the
that-
reason why this doesn't get seen every day or whatever is because, or doesn't get seen on the ocean at all, is because never in the ocean, what's the difference between the ocean and this scene? The difference is that never would we have hot ocean, cold air. Never. So this happens because we have hot ground, cold air, and so what we're seeing is a mirror of what's above it displayed below, right? So a mirror of what's above it displayed below the horizon. So all I'm saying is if the ground all of a sudden became freezing cold and the air above it was warmer, wouldn't we just see then the mirror change and go to here, and then the mirror would show what's below it? Maybe not because of the angles, because I do understand, obviously, if we flip this around, then all of a sudden it looks like we're at the ceiling, right? So how do you get yourself to be here? If we go here, now it looks like our heads are way up high at the ceiling. I guess I could take perspective and maybe move it to where, okay, maybe that's kind of, the sky is more of a angle than that even. Wow, that's crazy. I never thought about how angled the sky is.
I know. It's
even this still looks like we're at the top because your eye line is the horizon. That's the thing, right? Your eye line is always the horizon. Wherever your eyes are is the horizon. So that it gets very confusing when we try and flip it, because then you're like, well, now it's way off. Like here, that doesn't look right because we look like we're too close to the sky. We look like we're too close to the road. My head's right up against it when really we should be down here. So I get it. We'd have to then drop down here and get the horizon line to move. But this is a good example. What's happening here? We're getting above the horizon. We're seeing a mirroring of what's below it. So wouldn't that be the case that we are?
Yeah, if that mountain wasn't there, that's probably what would be happening with the sky.
Well, yeah. So if you imagine that there's no mountain all of a sudden, and now think of it as being the ocean, then really you would have the ocean, and you'd have a band of air mirroring the ocean, causing this. That's what you would see looking out on a cold day when the water's cold and the sky is and the air is warm. If it's inverted.
Yeah, when you look at long distance pictures over water, you can almost find that line every single time.
I think so too.
Where
do you think you
that
could
little
find
band-
it in videos? And I don't know if you've ever searched for videos.
anything with a circular aperture, this line will be in.
Let me see. So
It's
I'm gonna look
pretty
at,
much everything.
boats
There's only a
over.
couple types of rectilinear cameras that are even still made.
And sometimes if
And
people get
that's
upset,
a weird
or just,
one. That one has a cross in the center. It's not just along the horizon. It's along the horizon and the vertical in the center. So you have two different parts that diffract in a rectilinear one. That's why they stick to the circular lenses, because there's only one diffraction band going across it.
Okay, so let me show you this here. If this one's one. So this one here is.
We're still seeing the
Oh, sorry. I need to move it over.
the road.
This is like a grandson is an old man. Never even seen this one. So this is a video that is probably their best evidence that I've seen, that they're like, well, what about what's going on here? Let me show you. Oops, you still can't see it. It's all right. Come back over here. That one. All right, transition. So this I've seen them talk about before, but you can kind of see what's happening here. That this boat is in the water. And this boat, what's going on here? And people who try and say, oh, well, we're seeing a reflection. Well, where is the reflection here? But could it be that what we're seeing is this part of the water is showing what's in front of it? So it raises the item up, but still boats can go in the water. Think about it. So if you've got, how do I explain this? If this is where the actual horizon is, or where the actual boat, this boat is sitting on the horizon here. But the problem is now this boat, which is closer to us, is now traveling, but it's in the water. So what would we see? Since this is just a reflection of this.
That's a wild one.
Well, because it's closer, so the boat would look like it's traveling there, I guess. I mean, you can see it's that's so crazy. What is that? And that's insane. This is water.
That's wild.
So this is water. I'm just trying to think how this could match my theory. So if you've got the horizon line is here, but it can't be. The water is clearly traveling in the water. And this is not a reflection. This must be fake. I mean, I don't know what else to say. I got to think about this one. Camera location.
Yeah, that was my first thought. Like, what?
Large vessel over the horizon. Because it just doesn't make, when you're out there, and the reason I'm bringing this all up is because what we saw and what the globe model calls for is impossible. It's just, when you're out there, you realize there's no way it's not a hump. I don't know if people heard me.
What boat is that?
Let me just show this real quick. So this is
the back one.
Yeah, I know. I'm going to look at that in a second. But this is what we saw, this week when we see San Clemente, which again, according to the globe, shouldn't be seen unless you give it all kinds of refraction and miracle sauce. Then it raises it up a little bit. But I've done the kind of really looking at this mountain closely, and I realized, no, some of it is behind the mountain. So, I'm sorry, some of it is behind this line. Go back and play. Okay, some of it is behind this line. Like, it looks like the mountain is actually here as the bottom. Then I started thinking, okay, well, wait. Couldn't this just be a mirror of it, the water in front of it? What would cause that? Well, what would cause that is cold air doing the opposite of what it does to another mirage. I guess, I don't know if you'd ever be able to see any actual mirroring. Like, I don't know how you would actually see that, because I don't think we see that necessarily. Well, the ground's not moving on the other kind of mirage. Like, would it be in unison? Kind of does look at these two pieces. See right here? I don't know if you can see that because it's going to be double-handed. Oh, wait, you can't see right there. Hold on. Let me see. Where am I looking? I just saw, it just looked like there was like some, like this part here, this part here, like this here. Just look like it's doubling. Let me play a little bit. I'd have to zoom in, and I can't do that on this one. And if it's mirroring, do we see it go? Oh, now I'm tripping. Do you see water going one direction and then one in the other direction? Or am I tripping? Looks like
the stuff in the front looked like it was going left to right, and then the stuff in the back looked like it was going right to left.
Yeah, I saw the same thing. Weird. It does look like it's flipping. This is going one way, this is going the other. You almost see this line. I see, again, it's hard because you're watching secondhand, so it's not going to be as clear as my version. But this looks like a line. Oh, you can't see right here. And then if you think about the other one, like we talked about, I've seen birds that look like they're diving into water.
Mm-hmm.
But it's really just that mirage layer that is not water. And they reflect what's above it below. Sorry, what's below it above. I don't know, just something to think about. People I still think that there's an easy explanation for this, and I definitely think the other one makes sense, but this one here, is this boat got to be fake? I mean, what is going on here? I've never even seen this. I just searched right now. Never even seen this video. Never even seen Granddad. Oops. Stop it. Granddad is an old man. What's say? Granddad, large vessel.
Yeah,
over the
big
horizon.
pine sailing. The larger ship is being magnified. Kind of like
right, through a lens.
When,
okay, that's good. I say that too.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, move it over here. You guys can see.
When Rob went across Michigan, Lake Michigan, and it showed the Sears Tower looked huge still. It was super magnified, but you couldn't really see the bottom of it.
Right, but okay, so here's what I'm saying. This boat is clearly in the water, obviously.
Yeah.
Okay, so if this is being magnified, are we seeing through water? No. So that's the part that's confusing. If they're not seeing through water, then I think that it could be that the water's being shown higher than it's supposed to, but there's still, you can still ride on the ocean behind it. Oh, that was crazy right there. Hold on, I thought I saw something. Let me play right here. Oh, I thought I saw water go behind that side. I would think there'd be so many more videos of this. I mean, we were out there for 3 days. I didn't see any boat over any kind of edge at all.
Stabilization on this way.
Yeah, I'd have to see what kind of boat that is.
See, this boat's traveling on the water still. You can actually see.
It's like traveling above the water almost.
Right, but you can tell it's in the water.
Mm-hmm.
So that means that there's definitely water beyond there, and yet that boat is seen. I've never seen that before. But you can even look at these waves. You know how big these waves would be? They look like they're huge. Wonder how long he tapes this for. A while? Go back to where that boat was. I want to stay on that boat. Now, to me, what would happen is this boat would start getting smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller, and it's going to disappear like the sun does. Right? It's just going out further. It's not going to go. Mm-hmm. We're not going to see this thing disappear down because the water's flat. Water's flat from where we're at, from our eyesight. So it's just going to go on the water level. But we just don't see that far. But we can see boats further because they're standing up. They're not flat like you're talking about, the critical angle or whatever. So is that what's called? Okay, so now I'm tripping. You know when they call it total internal reflection? Is that what they call it? Like if the angle of incidence equals the angle of, that whole thing? But there is a certain angle where it doesn't absorb, it bounces back. It's called like a critical angle. And it happens when you're like in a pool. If you're underneath the pool, then you would actually see a reflection on the pool surface of what's below it. I'd have to show you. It's.
Oh, is that? I
think it's called a critical angle.
Brewster's angle.
Yeah, maybe it's called a critical angle or something. Let me see, critical angle. I don't know why I think that name.
That has to do with polarization. I know it blocks a certain wavelength of light.
This is saying here, the angle of incidence for which the angle of refraction is 90 degrees is called the critical angle. The critical angle is the angle of incidence above which the total internal so this thing, the total internal reflection, is when. So here's your angle of incidence, then it's equal to this, right? Well, it's this angle plus this angle. But if it's 90 degrees, then it actually reflects back at you.
Switch to image stabilization.
Let me show you.
Okay.
Well, it would usually happen going from one, like if you're going from water, if you're in water trying to look out of it, you would get, sometimes it would reflect exactly back. You would see, I wonder if they show a video of this or like an image. Because this would be, if you're inside of a pool, you would see a reflection of itself back. I want to see images. They don't have any images of this happening? Man, they don't have anything. It would be in a pool, I think, is the only place you would see it. Where if this equals 90 degrees or more, it's just going to reflect back. It's not going to go through. Which is what, now I'm wondering if that's what we're seeing in the sky, which would only happen at a 90 degrees, which should never happen on a globe, maybe? I'll have to think about it. Total internal reflection. Why wouldn't they show images of this?
I know.
Like, why wouldn't there be, is there one real world example, or is it a lie? See, this is kind of it in the fact that you would think this light would exit out the water, but because it's at a greater angle, that it comes back in. Oh, this kind of shows you. So think about this. So you're saying that if a light was shining here, it's going to shine out this way. We're in water, out of water, in water, out of water. But as you get too much of an angle, you don't get the exit anymore. You actually get an internal reflection. This is a good example here. So I'm just wondering if we flip this, are we seeing the reflection of itself? But they don't show any real images of that. It's so weird.
I don't remember if I just said we're on the...
Oops, let me check back here. All right, let me show you that one video and then we'll be done. I just want to show you Action Lab and show you what's going on with that because I think that he does a... Oops.
Hey everyone, today I'm going to be showing you how it's possible for boats to actually float in the air. Recently on the internet, there was a picture of a sailboat floating in the sky above the horizon. and it drove the
Hey B, thank you very much. $50. Austin, take Jeran with you. Just do it. You make this rule. No. Austin got that on his own, believe me.
crazy trying to figure out what was actually happening here. Was it faked or was it actually a real picture? So let's head out to the ocean to see if we can actually see any boats floating above the horizon. Okay, so I'm here at the ocean to see if I can see the effect of the floating ship. Let's look at some ships out there and see if we can see any that look like they're above the horizon.
I'll also make a prediction here that he won't see any boats behind the horizon, but we'll see. So my kind of opinion would be if we're seeing this boat is actually down here and this part of the water is being a reflection of what's below it, causing that to look a little bit covered. But other than that, it could just be the small waves as well. That's not behind anything. So weird.
So it looks like some of these boats that are really far away, they seem to be a little bit above the horizon, but not a really strong effect here. Now, on days where this effect is really strong, here's what it can look like. You can see that the boats seemingly float above the horizon.
And again, people are not, I mean, it's so ridiculous that this guy's going to describe it wrong. I'll let him talk, but you know what it is, and it's not what he's going to describe. It doesn't make any sense that our eyes would be able to pull a boat and lift it up, but not do the same to the water below it. What's the difference? They're in exactly the same spot.
So in order for a ship to appear as if it's above the horizon, some bending of light has to occur. Now you remember that light doesn't always travel at the speed of light when it's moving through different materials. Depending on the density of the material, it moves at different speeds. And what that amounts to is as it passes through a material, it bends when it's a different density. And cold air has a higher refractive index than warm air. So what that means is on cold days when the water is cooling the air just above it and the air is hotter above the cold air, it means that you can actually see things that are even below the horizon. And it can actually lift that image up higher than the horizon itself. Now the effect of these ships floating is called Fata Morgana. And it basically means that it's a mirage, but it's a little bit different than a mirage. A mirage is when you see a mirror image of an object far off in the distance. And a mirage is caused when there's hot air on the ground and cold air above it. But this effect that I'm showing here is when there's cold air below and hot air above. And it actually bends light the opposite way than in a mirage. Now, in order to show you how this effect is happening, I'm going to use some sugar and water.
What's weird is if that is what he's saying is correct, then you would get a raised water line.
And the sugar is going to create a gradient from the bottom going upward. So at the bottom, it's going to be a higher refractive index than above it. And so it's going to create the same effect that we're seeing when the ships are floating above the horizon. You can see the bending of light that occurs when I shine a laser through the water here. It's actually pulling the laser light down, bending the light. For example, suppose that this metal ball...
Again, if that were true, just think of what he's saying. If that's really the case, then everything would bend. He's basically saying the boat has laser light and the water doesn't. It doesn't make any sense.
Occurs when I shine a laser through the water here. It's actually pulling the laser light down, bending the light. For example, suppose that this metal ball here is my ship and the bottom of this square acrylic box here is the horizon.
Okay, so let's pretend what he's saying to pretend here. But this is what he fails to realize, or what nobody mentions. Now the light is traveling in water, and it's hitting the glass, and then it's exiting in air. So we're actually viewing the item now when a dense medium is being hit by a less dense layer. We're less dense. We're in air. He's in water. So this is not at all indicative of real life. When are you ever in less dense area that it came out, right? We would have, the light would be traveling, if you even believe that, through air the entire way. Not air and then somehow hitting less air, which is what's happening here. So this is not at all indicative of real life. At least I don't think it is. Because again, when would we have this view? Why doesn't he put the camera in the tank? If the camera's in the tank, then we're in the world. Right now we're out of the world and we're actually going to see the light exit. Have you seen how they draw it? Right? They show like, so let's say this is a dense layer. We'll color it different. We'll go with adjust darkness or something. Isn't there a not drop shadow. I don't know. I was trying to make this darker. It's not going to work. That'll work. Okay, good. So, something like this, where they would say, if the light is traveling this way, then it would hit this. And if this was denser than this, then it would bend away from the normal, right? Like this would hit this. You've heard it before. Oh, it's marching. If this is denser, then it goes out this way. Whereas if this is less dense, then it would travel and bend this way. Right? That's how they show if you're going from one to the other. It speeds up, and then you've seen it like if you have a tank, it would travel in the tank, change, and then come out of the tank. So we're actually seeing what comes out of the tank is air, not seeing what. So it's just dumb because really in real life we'd be in here. So it doesn't work to just show us from the outside of a tank. But anyway, what I can tell is already going to happen here because I've seen this happen a million times through my fish tank or it's a little acrylic tank, is back here you're going to see all kinds of effects. One of those will be, see these like squares here back behind there? Watch those get eclipsed by the horizon. Watch.
So we can see it still.
Watch these squares.
See it.
See how they're going away?
See it.
You can see these squares going behind. See it? They go behind there, but that's not even a real horizon.
Below the box, but I can still see the ball.
Again, in that case, it's so funny. I've never even thought about this, but when they say light bends down, well, yeah, from this view, again, because you're in the air, it's doing the opposite of what the real world would do. So this guy's showing as an example of what the real world is, the opposite of the real world.
Okay, so there's the ball.
We are in air and it's traveling through water. So the air is going slow, supposedly, and then exiting at the speed of light. Well, when would we ever see that in real life? It would see the opposite.
Now, as I move down,
you can see this layer here. It's like a fake layer where things are exiting behind.
Edge of the box, but I can still see the ball.
Wow, that's crazy.
So I'm a few inches below it, and I can still see the ball right there.
Again, he's making it's just not. We're outside the box.
In fact, a little bit better than laser light. You can follow the path of the bottom corner of the box.
So if light is exiting, doesn't it exit at the speed of light? Like you're not. When are we looking into water from outside of air? When you're catching fish, right? That's when they say.
It's never where you're looking.
Right. Okay. Just making sure. But that's because you see when you're looking at a fish, you're looking from air into water. But that's not what we're seeing when we look out over the ocean. Why would we see that? Why would we see? It doesn't ever exit at a faster speed. It would be getting. They say right, light travels and it hits more dense layers and bends down. Isn't that what they say?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but then if it hits less dense, like the air coming out of this or the light coming out of this, then it would be the opposite.
Bent it looks. So watch as I get down low. Watch the background here. Watch how it lenses everything. In fact, it makes it look like there's a slope here. So you can see the edge going up there.
Hilarious.
But there's actually not a slope there. It's actually just flat.
How is this guy not a flat earther?
See, it's just flat like that. Now, the ability to sometimes see things below the horizon
because he does this for a living.
Yeah.
In fact, as sunsets on the ocean,
you know, you've seen how much money we probably make.
Oh, the big zero?
How much he makes. Yeah.
So it still doesn't make sense. I still don't know how he's going to explain this with a boat floating in the air. Because he's just what he's describing doesn't match it at all.
Whether there's hot air or cold air there, it can bend the light up or down. You usually can't trust stuff that you see on the horizon. That's why astronomers don't really trust when they see a star at the horizon, like down floating above the horizon.
Right. This makes sense, and you can figure out what that is. But when you have just a boat in the water, I don't know why he's not addressing his original claim, this one. This is the one that he should be explaining. He didn't explain it at all. He's basically saying, oh, well, light bends, and well, then the light of the water would bend. How would we just see the boat?
The light just picked the boat this time.
Yeah, anybody who is watching this, maybe there's like people in the chat being like, I know how this works. Just explain to me, send it to me on Telegram, why we see the floating boat. Explain it simply, because the other ones seem to be explained simply, but this one, how would you be seeing just the boat? Unless it's fog, but again, the fog is enough to block the water, but not block the boat. No, doesn't seem to work either. Can't really think of why you would lose, except for if it's just the boat standing up, right? The water's at the critical angle, the boat's standing up, but then wouldn't that happen always? Why would it only happen sometimes? Who knows? All right, did Austin leave? I know I told Austin I'd host the show. Austin's got a busy week coming up. Austin, are you still there?
Yes, I am still here. Give me a sec to put Aaliyah down.
Sure. And if you have anything you want to state before we head out, I'll be continuing on some Mirage workings. But did you see that one boat? It's just bothering me. What the hell was that boat? Where was that boat?
Yeah, that big one.
200.
I've never. I mean, it's just ridiculous because it's not. Like, I don't know how to explain it. When you're out there, like what the guy Roofy's trying to say about my footage is that the mount. That's. Let me explain. Let me go over here. What he's saying is that this is just the very tip top of San Clemente. And he says how he's figuring that out is that this tower, whoops, you guys can't see. Sorry. He says this tower is only 100 feet. So if I put my mouse right here, he says this is 100 feet. So if that's true, are you not seeing my mouse?
No, I see what you're talking about, though. That little spire to the right.
Oh, there you go.
Bit.
Now you can see it. Okay. So this little thing here, he says that's 100 feet. So if that's 100, then that means that this part of the mountain we're only seeing 150 feet about. So then that means that there's still 1,900 or 1,800 feet of mountain to go. So that means 100, 200, 300, 400, 500, 600, 700, 800, 900, 1,000, 111, 12. So he's basically saying the mountain is way the hell down here. So then I started thinking, well, wait, if that's true, then you could stack cruise ships on the other side of this hill and be between the peak of the horizon and the mountain, you could stack 6 full cruise ships and we wouldn't see them. We would just see the top of the mountain and the top of the curve. And that to me is just ridiculous. The thought of there being one cruise ship between the top of this and the mountain is insane. It's just not the way. You have to be out there and see it. It's not, it doesn't even make sense to me. It can't grasp that. There's no way. I cannot believe they believe that. It's like so clear that this is not the hump of water, and then between this peak and the mountain, you could stack on top of them 6 cruise ships. Hopefully that makes sense what I'm saying, because they believe that, which is comical. All right. Is Austin back?
Yeah.
Okay. Tell everybody again what you need to say and what you need us to do. If you need us to tweet some stuff out to, are you going to put out like a promo piece, or you want us to do that? You tell us.
Yeah, so my view of it right now is that I just want to ensure the conversation goes really copacetically so that everyone will kind of demand like a rematch or a round 2 in person. And we need it to, so I think they'll follow where the attention goes, right? So yeah, like everyone just kind of like promote it, in my opinion. Maybe we'll make maybe we can have like a promo clip, or I mean, I don't know if I have time to do that, but maybe I can make like one that's kind of like amps it up, or whoever does, and just circulate it, reach out to any big channels that you think can tweet it or get it out there. Mm-hmm. I think that's my opinion. Then once it happens, just clip it up, pump it out there, and get a lot of views on different platforms that Infowars is not normally allowed on, right? And just kind of get it to go viral so that they have an overall good experience. So also say, like, being super aggressive and attacking them and stuff, if all the flat earthers are saying that they're government agents and it's a psyop and Infowars sucks, like, well, then what do they gain out of this, right?
Right.
Like, I don't think flat earthers have enough awareness a lot of times. So you have their boomer and similar audience that loves the moon landing, whatever, and they're going to claim that flat earth is a psyop. So they're going to kind of get pushed back from some of their own people for even platforming it. And then if the flat earthers that are coming in are just like bashing them, then that would be stupid for them to keep doing it. So flat earthers should be like kind of supportive, like hat tip them for platforming it, in my opinion, and then try to be more respectful so that I think they're like testing the waters, and if we can ensure they kind of have an overall good experience and they get a lot of views, then I think that'll help us out going forward. But that's about it. Is like promo and sharing it. That's really all I can think. I think we should be creative about how we get a lot of eyes on it.
Yeah, I think that would try to be a good idea. Though, like telling people to be on their best behaviors as much as possible, because there are going to be eyes here that you don't want to just discourage because we're in there calling everybody globetards. Like that's
exactly.
That's not going to win over
aggressive.
Yeah, it's just not going to win over anybody.
Like, in fact, they're going to attack you. And so you have an awesome opportunity to be like super nice and kill them with kindness. So where when someone looks at it, they're like, I mean, I don't agree with flat Earth right now, but you guys suck.
Right.
Like that's what you want people to see. If they see you be super toxic, and a lot of flat Earthers do this, dude. They like super toxic, and they take the bait and they call them names and they start calling, saying all this crazy stuff, and like you look just as bad as them to the audience, even though they attacked you first, right? So I think that is a really big part of it, and people should think about this. Always, I'll say this also. I think that this is just the beginning of a lot of eyes coming onto flat Earth, and I think that we need to kind of take this sentiment in as a community as a whole going forward. Like, if all these eyes are going to come be on you, how do you want flat Earth to be represented, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
not as a bunch of pompous assholes.
Yeah, exactly. Like you're not special because you found out that water doesn't curve, bro. Like you just live on the Earth, and the Earth just so happens to be stationary plane. Like you're not superior to people or whatever, right? And like Infowars is the same team as us, right? Mm-hmm. They exposed the vaccine the whole time. In the grand scheme of things, like they challenge whether people think that they're controlled op or they're only allowed to talk about certain things, whatever. All their audience is the same team as us, the same type of people that are going to call out corruption and, not just fall for any and everything that the news says and blah, blah, blah. So we should look at it like that, I guess. But I'm being somewhat redundant. I just think that's super important. So, yeah. And other than that, then just trying to get it to go viral, in my opinion, they've been kicked off all these other platforms, right? So if you can get them lots of views on other platforms, that'll kind of be a new thing for them. Like if clips of the debate can go viral on TikTok, etc., that will kind of it'll give them incentive, right? To maybe like have me back on in studio. And I'll say last thing, I think that being in person would be, you have like 100 times better chance of it going super viral just because of optics, and that's our goal. So we should kind of look at it that way. In my opinion, but that's about it. I might do a stream Monday night beforehand. I'm not sure. And that's about it. I think you can watch it on band.video and on X. I would say same thing. I'll say one more time. Like even when you're watching it live, you don't want to be in the chat just being super toxic or going back and forth with people. And dude, flat earthers can't help themselves. They do it on my channel as I'm asking them not to do it. Mm-hmm. They just can't help it. And so what happens when you go look at my chat on my live stream, they're like, this sucks. Yeah. Like I don't even want to read the chat. I don't want to type in the chat because you guys aren't talking about the subject. You're not listening to the stream. You're just sitting there like bloodthirsty, right? And I know that they provoke you, but I just would say try not to do that. And honestly, this is the big part. Actually check people you see doing it. Like if you see another flat earther, check them right then in the chat, wherever in the comments, and be like, this is not representing us. This is not what we should be doing. So there's that.
I love it, man. Yeah, treat people like if they were standing right in front of you. Remember how we all used to have to do it back in the day? Some of you probably don't remember that.
Right. If you called somebody fat, they might
have a group of people all together, we had to be like in the same room. That was the only way to do it. And people spoke accordingly. You treat people like you would like to be treated. If you don't have anything nice to say, just don't say it. It's that easy. Take the high road, so to say.
Yeah, life isn't always fair. As a true earther, you get the worst end of the stick in lots of ways, right? Because people will be like, oh man, calling my preferred pronouns. How dare you not call them a spaceship or whatever, right? Like you're supposed to be super tolerant of everything. But when it comes to flat earth, all bets are off, right?
Totally different.
Yeah, you can dox them, death threat them, jump them, stalk them, like call them every name in the book.
If you question the moon landing, you can have everybody who's a scientist says like, oh, and then Buzz Aldrin classically punched what's his name in the face. It's like, you mean he committed a crime?
He deserved it.
Yeah, he committed a crime. Okay, great. Yeah, we should all celebrate crimes now.
So, just know that's the situation, but understand it's because it's such a powerful truth. It pulls out, it triggers this crazy subconscious response in people that they don't really, it's not even them. Like if you've ever told flat earth to people that are really cool, you'll see the worst side of people, and just know that, you have to be the bigger person, and maybe in a year they come back and say sorry. But if you start just going toe to toe with them and trying to rip out their eviscerate them emotionally, why they're never going to do that. So yeah, I know we talk about that a lot, but I do think that's more important now than ever, right? Because I'm going to do everything I can to keep the momentum rolling, to get on bigger and bigger shows and try to keep everything like copacetic and give us decent optics the best I can. But we also need flat earthers to do that. And I'll say this also, flat earthers do need to be actively engaged. Like a lot of stuff will start going on X. I encourage people to get on X, follow me, follow Jeran, right? And like get in the comments and replies and provide informative answers, show that we're like the good side. Because if it's just bombarded with people claiming flat earth is stupid and bombarded with alleged refutations of flat earth with no one in the trenches, that also doesn't look good. It reaffirms this notion that we're a minority and we're not, right? So I would say being actively engaged in all the upcoming posts and videos and just doing so with grace. That's really all that's the only thing I want from the community. That's all I'm asking. I'm open to any suggestions. You can reach out to me as to, you've watched Harrison, you've heard him say this or that, you know he's going to come from this angle, you've heard his opinion about space or whatever. I think it's cool for to know some of that stuff. So if anyone has anything like that, you can message me on Telegram at witsit. And yeah, I think that's about it.
Okay, anything from you, Zachary?
Come over and hang out on GLOBEBUSTER Tech Thursday night. We're having fun over there. We'll be live this Thursday. We've been showing some old GLOBEBUSTERS tech, like I think the last couple weeks, like every other week for the last couple weeks, and people are really enjoying some of the older shows from like 3-4 years ago. But this week we'll be live.
Sweet. All right. And for me, I think there's a debate on Tuesday. I think Alan. But what time is yours, Austin?
9 a.m. Central, 10 a.m. Eastern. So freaking super early for the West Coast. I guess
wow.
like 7 in the morning.
Okay. Is that what time it said on that flyer? I thought the flyer said something PM.
No, okay. It's in the morning. And I think that also, yeah, if anyone wants to like make sure they can get like a good recording of it,
okay,
that may be good as well.
All right. So one more time the time. And you said it was on band.video or on X, right?
Streamed on X, yeah. It's 10 a.m. Eastern. Okay. So, like, let me double check the flyer here, but yeah, 9 a.m. Central.
7 a.m. Pacific. Got it.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's right. Right, Central is an hour.
Yeah,
hour ahead of me.
Hour ahead of you? You mean behind?
Behind. Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. Yep. And yeah, I think then we're 2 behind that. So. All right, so 7 a.m. Pacific, 10 a.m. Eastern on Tuesday. And then I have a debate with Alan and MC Toon on Tuesday evening. Yep. And I believe that is it. There's another one, I think, Wednesday. Oh, no, I'll let you guys know.
Shane and Ozian
yes, that's
about
right.
the tides.
Yeah, that's right. How'd you know that? You have my schedule now? Funny guys, Ozian. Oh, boy.
Well, yeah, I think Shane looks at it like a perfect person to just get the information out there with.
Right, it kind of worked well last time with the whole gravity thing. I thought went really well. So, and then he got Ozian telling people that he wants lady boys to call him. So it helps our image, I think. It hurts theirs. Or may teach their own. If you want to ask for that, go ahead. Oh boy, that guy's a piece of work. All right. Thank you guys so much. Let me make sure we got all the. Did you get everybody on Rockfin?
I think so. Let me check.
We
checked Kofi because I saw a few had popped up.
Sure, I'll check right now. I'm gonna look at the super chats real quick. Go ahead.
2 more from Plain Reality. Thank you. And they're quite long about the horizon.
Go ahead.
What we are getting with the horizon is that it is being brought closer to us and further from us. When it's closer, it hides objects in the distance faster, and when it's further, it will reveal those objects. The horizon is the convergence point, and beyond that, it will all diverge. I sent you a Telegram message showing the inferior Mirage, showing the close horizon. It's not fake, it's seen every day. We know the horizon is a convergence point. It will always be at your approximate eye level. Beyond that, everything will diverge, giving the illusion that objects appear lower. You can have a 3-mile horizon on one day, all the way to a 20-mile horizon on a different day from the same observer height. When it's 3 mile, objects would disappear faster than a 20 mile.
Yeah, that's the horizon. I mean, I was trying to cover today mirages.
Yeah.
With a mirage. So yes, that is, I think you described the horizon perfectly, but it doesn't describe exactly what's happening when this happens, when we get this on the road. How is this described by a if you're talking about a closer horizon, then you mean this one? Because that's not the real horizon. It's so is that what he's talking about? Maybe he's talking about that. I don't know what he's talking about exactly. As far as if you're talking about the Mirage, because you've seen it before, right? With Phuket Words video.
Yeah.
So I guess I see what he means, but is he considering that is also a Mirage? Because in the Phuket Word video, you can see that just by lowering the camera, it brings the horizon closer. So read what he said at the beginning of it again one more time. I just want to hear it one more time. Right, the first 2 sentences, you said something about it brings it closer and further.
What we are getting with the horizon is that it is being brought closer to us and further from us. When it's closer, it hides objects in the distance faster, and when it's further, it will reveal those objects.
Horizon brings items closer. Okay, but doesn't.
So kind of like what you're saying, when we have that distortion in the middle there, that mirroring effect, the more of that we have, the more that gets hidden. But when we can see the horizon for further, we see those objects and they're not distorted in that miraging effect that takes place.
Okay, I can live with that. I just think if it's a mirage hiding the horizon, then we should probably point that out. But I don't know how often it happens, and I don't know if it happens every day you look at the ocean. Seems like it would, but I don't know. We'll have to check it out. All right, is there any more there? I see. Thank you, Karen B, for being a member for 6 months. Liz the Iron Maiden, thank you very much for $4.99. Run Boston Bear, what a great episode. It's fantastic. So many were awake these days. Keep your peace. Enjoy, y'all. The Trolls of
I read all those up to commercial sound and video.
Thank you. Oh, yeah, we read Dawn's. What did you read Byron's?
Byron's. Yeah. The feet are always pointing towards the screen, the top of the pool. He's talking about the astronauts due to buoyancy.
Right.
Yeah.
Good point. Thank you, Justin. We said that one. And then Commercial Sound says, check out Suno website. It makes AI songs instantly from keywords you enter. Wow. It's called Suno website. Check that out. Shout out to Lady Tribune. You're in our thoughts and prayers. Yes, we did have Troubling Tribune talk to us on my VIP stream last night. He is doing fine, or doing as best as can be expected, I guess. And Joe Mama, 20 GLOBEBUSTER memberships.
Much
you
love,
are
Joe
the
Mama.
man, Joe Mama. Okay, let me check Kofi real quick. Kofi, we've got over here.
You guys are awesome. Thank you all so much.
All right, Kofi, we've got, do these update in real time? No, I don't know. I don't see any in, there it goes. You reached your goal. Thank you. Now I see him. You had to refresh. All right, we've got Ab says, we are in an air bubble riding in the deep. That explains our fallen nature and gravity. That's it. I saw an air bubble rise in a straw today and it clicked. We are in an air bubble riding in the deep. That explains our fallen nature and gravity. Is that like a rising up thing?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, we've got AB says, Austin, take Jeran with you. Just do it. Just make this rule. Okay, now that Austin will do much better without me. Flatten the curve in this week's information warfare battle. Get it, Witsit? Okay, I think he gets it. Dan says, "Yah bless." RG the artist, who we missed last week, says, "Hey guys, hope you're all doing well. Thank you again for everything you guys do. It's truly a blessing. People receive the truth." And then these are from last week. He says, "Are you sure those big cruise ships don't hover? Because that would make much more sense. I wish that girl just fell out of those doors. That would be entertaining." Yeah, I mean, the cruise ship's floating is clear what's going on. It's just sitting on the water. Now, why the water isn't seen, it's like it's chroma keyed out. I don't know that answer. Hopefully this will help you out. And once again, I appreciate all you guys do and the hard work. On a different note, I'm pretty sure they needed umbrellas on the moon in case it rained diamonds from Saturn, which it did. We saw that today, all the rocks falling from the sky. And then AB is from last week. Okay, great. Any other comments? Anybody? Austin?
Nope.
Zachary?
No, man. I think that's about it. Just I encourage everyone to pop on X and try to help us kind of circulate the show.
The good news, spread it. All right, guys. I remind you, please be kind to one another, don't lie to each other, and open your eyes. There is truth inside. Till next week. We'll be back next week, I believe so, yes. This has been GLOBEBUSTERS and jeranism and witsit and good times for all. Till then, peace.
Peace.